down to Greg Atkins and being able to develop, 5 guys, 6 guys, 7 guys that he can count on to roll out there and protect whoever's playing quarterback.
And offensive line traditionally is the position where you're least likely to step right in and start right away. Like, it's a different type of kid who's physically ready for that grind the first day he's on campus, or his first practice, or first week of football. And I mean, this, like, Brubaker's 6'6", 280. Like, by the time he's done, he's going to be over 300 pounds. Like, he is huge, got a lot of room on his frame. If you just look at him, like, that's going to be a 300-pound kid eventually. So, I mean, it's going to be more than just Greg Atkins developing. I mean, that whole strength and nutrition staff is going to have to bulk these kids up, and not everybody's body responds to that right away, trying to add a ton of weight as soon as you get there.
So, Bill, would you say this is kind of the opposite situation that Will Muschamp left Florida in? That was, if not the main issue, certainly one of them when the Florida situation didn't pan out. And I know you mentioned Jim McElwain took a shot or two when he came in and took over for Will Muschamp about the lack of depth on the offensive line. Seems like the Gamecocks in relatively good shape there.
Yeah, that's the one spot that I think Will Muschamp actually did learn about from Florida was just keeping a high number of scholarship players there in that spot to allow for competition. Yeah, I'm not trying to sell anybody that this is a upper level SEC offensive line unit. They need to get better. Last year we saw them be able to run block pretty good. That's evident in what Kevin Harris did. We saw them not be able to pass block very good. Now, I think that one area, you've got to have some athletic ability. You got to have some true tackles to be able to deal with speed rushers that you face in the SEC, and obviously the defensive line that you get when you go against Clemson. So you've got to be able to have some athleticism at the tackle position to kick back and be able to get in position to protect and pass. I haven't had that. And that's the one area that I noticed here. You talk about the three traits, or the traits that these three players all have, is they do have the athletic ability. Brubaker, the one crazy stat on him yesterday, he's a high school swimmer. 6'6", 280, and he's a swimmer. That right there is pretty athletic. Again, how does that translate to the football field? I don't know, but 6'6", 280 moving through the pool has got to be quite a scene. You need the athletic ability there, and Will Muschamp and Eric Wolford left, again, some guys who I think have a lot of potential to play the interior. I don't know how many true tackles South Carolina's got out there right now that can go out and really handle upper-level SEC speed rushers. We saw that. Who was the guy last year? Patrick, well, the two kids. I think they were brothers, wasn't it? The kid for LSU and the kid for
the Ojularis.
Yeah. I mean, clearly those boys got on the phone with each other and was like, yeah, don't worry about it. You got because I think the younger Ojulari from LSU, or maybe the younger one is at Georgia.
Yeah. No, Azeez Ojulari just got drafted and from Georgia, and DJ Ojulari will be a sophomore at LSU.
What did they combine for? They have like a combined 7 sacks against South Carolina. Does that seem right?
I think that's what we found out. Yeah. I mean, BJ from LSU, I think, had 3.
Yeah.
Just feasted in that game.
So again, there's your kind of common trait with this particular class is guys that are supposed to be legitimate tackles that can play out there on the edge.
Yeah.
And be able to get in position to handle that. I don't know if South Carolina's got that right now, which is why you see the ability to run the football a lot better than to be able to protect the passer.
The fact that he's a swimmer is wild. Like, that tells you by itself that he's going to gain a lot of weight when he gets to college. Like, you can't be 315 pounds and be a swimmer. So we need to get this kid to IMG Academy for his senior year. Is there still time for that?
That was yesterday's show. That was yesterday's show. Again, the news, Ryan Brubaker, the offensive lineman up in the state of Pennsylvania. Dad played at Penn State. He picks the Gamecocks, makes that commitment official, or not official, public yesterday. And by my math now, it's 11 commits in the class of 2022. And he is the highest rated of those commits. A 4-star guy across multiple services. And one of, I think, the secret welcome homes that had popped up here in the last 9 days, when it was 9 guys in 9 days, I think, and a name wasn't attached to that welcome home. A couple of more to come, I think. We should find out the identity of these secret commits that Shane Beamer knows about, that he made public, that there was a commit, and we just don't know the name attached. And what about the idea, Bill, of going to the state of Pennsylvania to get a guy here? What does that show you for this new coaching staff about how they will continue to recruit, or just their process, I guess, and how things will go with Shane Beamer and company?
Well, they've got to be a little more creative. You see them trying to expand the footprint, get into the Northeast a little bit. I mean, it's here, at least in the Southeast, it's going to be difficult. I mean, you got three of the nation's top, 5 teams all within, I don't know, what is Alabama, 5 hours away? You're competing against Alabama, Georgia, and Clemson for guys in the Southeast. Just that's not a battle that you're going to win very often. We'll see if South Carolina's able to land Oscar Delp here in the coming weeks or the months. I know he'll be at Clemson on was it July 24th for their cookout, and he's expected back at South Carolina on July 31st for their cookout. But that's just, you're not going to win a lot of big recruiting battles against those three, and they're within 5 hours of your campus. So you got to pick and choose, and then you've got to be willing to go outside of your area a little bit and be creative and use the ability that the SEC is a place where maybe you can go into the Northeast and pluck a kid or two. In this situation, it just works out. Ryan Brubaker wanted to play in the SEC. Tennessee, Florida, 2 schools that offered him. He ended up narrowing it down to Tennessee. Vanderbilt was the school that he took an official visit to because education. Stanford was the school out west. Education was important to him. So that was a situation where going into the Northeast, you get a kid that, saw coming south, playing in the SEC, saw South Carolina as an opportunity. But you have to expand your footprint. It's crazy. South Carolina has landed a safety out of Texas. Shiloh Sanders was a guy that was out of Texas, but I think a little bit different there. It's been a while since we've seen them land a kid out of Texas, and they may land a wide receiver out of the state of Texas. Landon Sampson, I believe is his name. So we'll kind of continue to monitor that. But that's what you have to do right now, because you talk about the 3 programs in Georgia, Alabama, Clemson. Then you talk about just tough schools right now. North Carolina's done an incredible job of being able to lock down the state of North Carolina and not allow you in on guys that they really want. Florida's always going to be tough. Florida State still has an appeal if you're trying to go into the state of Florida. Miami obviously is got an appeal that's there. So, recruiting the Southeast obviously is very competitive. You got to be willing to go outside right now until you can win some football games and really attract the upper echelon recruits and show the upper echelon recruits, hey, we are getting it done on the field. You got to be a little bit more creative in your recruiting strategy.
We'll see how creative we can get on a Wednesday morning for you. Glad you're part of the early game. 803-404-6100. If you would like to join, you can call or text. National news from last night. The Atlanta Hawks, a 22-point winner against the Milwaukee Bucks, even without Trae Young. So that Eastern Conference Finals series is tied up at 2. Mississippi State, no problem against Vandy, even though that thing went late. Another slight weather delay last night, 13-2. The score last night. Mississippi State forces tonight's decisive Game 3 out in Omaha, and the New York Mets edge the Atlanta Braves 4-3. Braves dropped to 4 games below 500, I believe they are now on the season. We'll get back into that Gamecock football discussion. Again, Ryan Brubaker is the latest to commit on the live stream this morning, the Facebook live stream. Chris asked, what is he, a guard or a tackle? Most offensive linemen recruits, typically, Bill, you would agree with this, I think, or come in as tackles, and then they move somewhere along the offensive line. Isn't maybe I'm overstating that. Isn't that how it typically works?
You generally fail down to guard. Like, I think that's kind of just how it goes.
I don't know.
Unless you're built different, like you're stout or you have short arms or like something like that. But if you're an athletic kid with long arms, they're gonna try and let you play tackle. But in college football, it's more likely to play multiple positions anyway. I mean, Sedarius Hutcherson, did he play all 5 spots? 4 spots, I guess, maybe.
Yeah, that was a weird.
That's
a whole other Will Muschamp thing there about cross trading guys, whether it was the secondary, or the offensive line. to have them playing multiple positions instead of maybe just focusing on one. To an extent, obviously, guys that are coming to play in the SEC on the offensive line need to be athletic. And in high school, you're usually going to put your most athletic guys at tackle. That doesn't mean it translates to being athletic at the SEC, as we've seen. So I think you have more guys that equal guards on South Carolina's roster. But to answer your question, no, there's certain guys. AJ Cann was a guard in high school. Eric Douglas was a guard center. Benny Murphy, who's on the roster now, was a center at St. Thomas Aquinas. So, yeah, I mean, there are situations where there are guys who are strictly guards or centers at the high school level, and that's what they end up being recruited for. But, again, the high school level guys that can go play at the upper levels usually are athletic at the high school level. You say, hey, we put them out there at tackle. That doesn't necessarily mean that's what they're going to translate to.
Facebook, YouTube live stream up and rolling this morning on the video portion. Also on Twitter, the station handle is at 1075 The Game. However you're taking in the show, we appreciate it for sure. Again, the phone number to join, 803-404-6100. You can call or text. It's the early game. It's 1075 The Game.
Hey, coffee. Coffee.
Coffee, my friend, this morning for sure. How was work last night, sir?
Not too bad. Tuesday's usually our worst night. Monday's kind of bad. Tuesday's the worst, and then it gets easier until Friday.
And then bad again?
And then Friday's always bad because people don't come in. Yeah. Because when I started, I signed on to do Sunday to Thursday, and then a year into it, they switched us to Monday to Friday, and it's been an awful decision. Did you see Giannis?
It's all hyperextended, right?
It seems like it might be worse than that. He's getting checked out today. I've seen some people say that they fear that it's torn ACL.
Oh man, just a nightmare for the APA.
So, I mean, that could be it for the Bucks. Chris Middleton was awful again. 0 for 7 from 3 last night.
Wow.
6 of 17 overall.
The injury was not fun to watch. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
If we have to watch a deciding game in the Eastern Conference Finals without Trae Young or without Giannis, the ratings are just going to be terrible. No one's going to watch that.
Nah. I agree with that. What's on the calendar today for Euro soccer, Patrick? What am I got? What are my 2 games?
Is there games today?
Let you know off the top of your head. I
don't know if there are games today. I think the quarters are set. Let's see. No, we're done.
Oh
Yeah.
man, because boy, I was ready to watch today.
We're done till Friday.
I can tell you were a little jazzed up for today, but you get the day off.
Dag nabbit.
Yeah, there are actually better round of 16 matchups than quarterfinal matchups. Belgium, Italy on Friday should be pretty good.
I'm geared up.
Switzerland, Spain.
Oh, everybody knows you throw out the records when Switzerland and Spain get together.
It's true. I think
It should have been France, Spain. Everyone, people probably bought tickets for that, saying I'm gonna have tickets to France, Spain, and this is gonna be incredible. I know they have to watch Switzerland.
And they're just not going to compete. They're just going to be neutral.
Going for the tie.
Well, Spain plays a very slow-paced style generally too.
I
I
knew
will
it.
not be watching that one. It's at noon. Can't do it. I got up in time for the second half yesterday. Didn't get to watch the whole England game.
Morning, Lovar. Morning, Lamont.
Cool picture, Lamont.
Yeah. So thanks for the heads up there. I thought I had pushed the button to go live, and then I saw we have in my little window.
A little red.
Yeah, a little timer, how long we've been going and how many people are watching, and that wasn't up. And I was like, oh,
Ha.
Nobody.
gotta push the button.
Nobody watching this. I think I'm just gonna be on Tokyo tours every single day until the Olympics start.
All right, here we go.
And Gamecock Larry's on the phone wanting to talk about the College World Series.
Oh, fantastic. Too much
Cutting
Gamecock
off.
football for Gamecock Larry.
Cutting off the football talk again.
Yeah, it's rough.
Morning to all on this last day in June, Wednesday morning. Apparently, it's bringing out the Clemson fans, at least early on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line. Jim over in Carolina Beach, formerly Jim in Charlotte. How is Gamecock recruiting for 2022 compared to Clemson's 2022 recruits? How many
cares?
4 and 5 stars for each team so far? Actually, it's pretty interesting. I actually looked this up. I thought it was just trolling at first, and it might still be. And yet, I look on Rivals.com right now, and Clemson's class is ranked number 19 in the country. South Carolina's class of 2022 is now up to number 21 in the country, 2 spots behind Clemson. Now, as far as the star breakdown, that's where Clemson fans will certainly puff out their chests. There are 7 of the 8 guys that Clemson has commit rated at 4 stars and an average of 3.75 per person, I think. As far as the Gamecocks 11-person class, 9 out of the 11 rated 4 stars, according to Rivals. 9 out of the 11 rated 3 stars, and 2 out of the 11 rated 4 stars, with an average of 3.18 stars per recruit. That is how it breaks down on Rivals, Bill. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, I just fascinated that little old Clemson still compares themselves to South Carolina, because I love Jim. I always appreciate Jim's contributions, and it's great that he doesn't look anywhere else but right down into Columbia to compare his little old Tigers to, just like our good buddy Ray in Bowman. He's so worried about South Carolina. He doesn't have time to worry about anybody else. I appreciate those 2 in particular that are very worried about the University of South Carolina. They don't have time to worry. See, this is an example of when the ACC is so bad that you don't worry about your conference. You only worry about your rival. And that is a good sign for South Carolina.
The first game's gonna be the only game worth watching this year.
It is. Well, no, I mean, you got to admit, like, I appreciate Ray's text. You know, he's got a South Carolina wife. He gets a little fed up probably listening to her talk trash every day. And I think what that leads to is just keeping an eye on your rival. There's nothing wrong with that when you want to keep tabs on your what is it? What's the line? Keep your enemies
friends
close.
close. Yeah.
Friends close.
Friends close,
You
enemies
got to do
closer.
it. You got to do it. And I understand what the Tigers doing this morning. Keeping an eye out.
From the national recruiting rankings at Rivals.com, anyway, Ohio State number 1 right now, Notre Dame number 2, and then an ACC school at number 3 and at number 6. You guys want to guess if you haven't looked? or if you know, Bill, then let's let Patrick guess. Play the guessing game this morning.
I would
National recruiting rankings. Number 3 in the country is an ACC school, and number 6 in the country right now is an ACC school.
I would guess North Carolina's on a roll right now. Maybe North Carolina. If not them, then one of the Florida schools, I would guess.
Okay. North Carolina, I am perusing, and I'm going way down the list here. Maybe I skipped over them. I see Duke pop up. North Carolina is at number 36.
Wow.
Again, South Carolina right now at 21, Clemson at 19. Duke was at 48, so I had skipped over North Carolina. So it's not North Carolina. It is one of the Florida schools. So number 3 in the country right now is Florida State. Mike Norvell and company got 14 recruits in, 1 5-star, 7 4-stars, and 6 3-stars, according to Rivals.com. It might be a long time. Bill, do you know who number 6 is right now in the country? You want to get in on the ACC guessing game? It would have taken me about 14 guesses to get number 6.
It's going to be someone for you to throw it out. Virginia, maybe they're in an area that you can recruit a couple of good players. Mendenhall. Let's see. Let me tell you. Just throw one other team at you. I don't think I've heard Georgia Tech a lot, so I don't think it's Georgia Tech.
Virginia's at 44 right now with 8 commits.
I haven't looked at the recruiting
Georgia
rankings
Tech's
right now.
30.
Yeah, the recruiting rankings are skewed because of the number of commitments that schools have. Kind of like you just pointed out with Clemson and South Carolina in 19 and 21. So I don't know who it. You said Virginia's not it. So who is it?
Patrick, you get in on the game.
Trying to think of who would be the most surprising, like Pittsburgh.
That would be one of them. Nope. I think it's even more surprising than that. Boston College at number 6 right now in the recruiting rankings. They have 19 guys in their class.
Okay. Yeah.
15 of them 3 stars, 3 4-stars. Their average is 3.11 as opposed to Ohio State, the number 1 class in the country, has an average of 4.21 per stars per person. And the other guys right in front of Boston College, LSU and Georgia, the highest ranked SEC programs right now at 4 and 5, both averaging 4-star guys with 11 commits in. Oklahoma is right behind Boston College. They got 9 guys committed, a lot like Clemson, a very similar number, and Boston College with 19. So you guys can take those recruiting rankings for what they're worth at this point, because this time last year we were talking about North Carolina and Tennessee, I think, right? That's really making movement in the recruiting game, and it obviously things changed in a big way for Tennessee. North Carolina seems to be in good shape, but not as many early recruits, or not as many highly thought of early recruits in this class compared to last class.
No, it's different, and we talked about that. There are kids that if you go on, and recruiting rankings are fun depending on how you want to take it. I mean, it is what it is. I do think it's important to have highly thought of recruiting classes, but I went back and when you asked the question about the offensive lineman for South Carolina, I went back and looked at South Carolina's recruiting classes that helped propel them to the 11-2 seasons. I think there was one that was really well rated, and that one had like 32 or 33 players in it. That was the Garcia class with a bunch of guys in it. Like Marcus Lattimore's class that had so many contributors and so many important players was 34th nationally. So again, there is a certain level where you say recruiting rankings don't matter, but they certainly do. In this particular class, I think when you get to December, as people like Jerry Hamilton, who I think does a very good job, and I think is joining Own 3 Sports or something, Rusty Manziel, guys like that who really do a good job with evaluations and play a big part in recruiting rankings, as they get a chance to watch these kids through a few more camps in July, and then with their senior season, you'll see some adjustments to the ratings because they didn't get to see as much last year. And then as other teams, and you mentioned Clemson there at 19, start to catch up with in terms of numbers of commitments, you'll see them move up into the top 10, potentially the top 5. So things will alter drastically with recruiting rankings as we move through the next 6 months to signing day in December.
Do you feel like it's more important at all for first-year coaching staffs to kind of assert themselves by this point or earlier than other programs? I'm just trying to to gauge other first-year head coaches out there that might have made some movement here in the recruiting game, and I'm not seeing a ton of those. It's like, but is Greg Schiano back at Rutgers? Isn't that right?
Yeah,
So
but he was back
technically a
there.
first-year coach.
He's not a first year. This is his second year.
So this is your number 2 there. Over in Texas is the only other program I'm seeing right now. Steve Sarkisian has Texas at number 12 in the country.
Who was the coach at Boston College?
Great question. I know we knew this, and I think, Bill, you pointed it out specifically when he got hired. But I can't name it off the top of my head. You got him? Anybody?
Looking it up.
Tells us where Boston
Yeah,
College is.
maybe. I don't know.
Yeah,
All
that sounds right.
Yeah.
Athlete, thank you. All right, we have a sales guy named Jeff Haley, and I was pretty confident it was not him. I didn't want to say it with the supreme confidence because you never know. He could be moonlighting there as he could be our sales guy. He could be the Boston College head coach. But I was pretty confident it was not him, so Halfley seems correct.
But Halfley is coming in. I guess he is a second-year guy. He actually was the coach last year, and most victories of any first-year head coach in college football last year is what they're selling. 6-5 season, and they write on the website there near upsets of number 1 Clemson and number 11 North Carolina. Interesting. And several Clemson fans predictably hitting us up on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line and responding to Bill's jabs there, saying Clemson is not worried about Carolina right now. To me, I think it's important for a first-year staff at South Carolina to make a little noise right now in recruiting, and that's what Shane Beamer and company have done, and it's reflected in the national recruiting rankings. Bill, like you said, take them for what they're worth, but I think it's important to get the positive momentum rolling. What about you, Pat?
Well, I mean, look, right now, Tennessee, first-year staff. So, again, I'm looking at the 24/7 Sports rankings. They're 49th with 6 commitments right now. The one that's still surprising to me, and I mentioned this the other day, is Auburn with Brian Harsin, the guy coming from Boise State. Auburn kind of does have the ability to recruit itself to go into the state of Georgia. Auburn's right now sitting there as we go into the month of July with 3 commitments. Now, I know they'll get some, and I know they'll get a few elite prospects. It's Auburn. They know how to do that. And again, that's a pretty campus and a storied football program. But it is surprising to see that particular staff, that particular program at 74th nationally as we turn the calendar to the month of July and sitting there with just 3 commitments. Auburn should have 3 commitments without blinking. They should probably have double that without even having to try. But we'll see what happens there. So, yeah, a lot will change and a lot evolve over, again, the next 5.5 months or 6 months as we get toward the December signing day. Rankings will change. Kids will flip and decommit and do all that fun stuff. But at least as we go to July 1, it gives something a little bit of an entertainment to talk about.
Yeah, what would your guess be, your hypothesis on where Boston College ends up in the national recruiting rankings with former defensive coordinator from Ohio State, Jeff Halfley, their second-year head coach? I would guess somewhere around 25 max.
I just scroll quickly. Baylor has 18 commitments. Boston College has 19. So Boston College has got – now, here's the thing. This is what I look at, and this is early on. Looking at 24/7 Sports, one thing they do is they have an average star rating out to the side of it. Boston College has an 86. For example, Oklahoma is at number 10, and Oklahoma has 9 commits. Oklahoma's at 93.83. That's their average. That tells me that's a really good class. You mentioned Clemson. Clemson's 20th at 92.02. Again, pretty good class. What you'll end up seeing is Boston College, I think, end up closer to 40, maybe between 40 and 45.
Boston College has 19 commits from 12 different states.
It's impressive.
Yeah, we talk about
different kind of
going up to Pennsylvania. Yeah, Boston College having to go all over the place. And Craig,
they got a 4-star from John Bosco in California. I don't know how
right. The connections to Boston College, I think a lot of family connections, a great school, obviously, but a tough football job for sure. Interesting looking at the recruiting rankings as we sit here on the last day of June. Take them for what they're worth. 803, 404, 6100. Ryan Brubaker, the latest Gamecock commit to be known anyway. I think part of this 9 commits in the last 9 days, dating back to yesterday, and he made that commitment known. The Pennsylvania offensive lineman choosing the Gamecocks over Penn State, among others. His dad had played at Penn State, and the first four-star guy kind of across the board for multiple services out of the 11 commits for Shane Beamer in his first full class, the class of 2022. We'll continue to discuss that. We got a Game 3 winner-take-all tonight in the College World Series. Our favorite 86-year-old caller, Gamecock Larry, would like to discuss that. We might be talking too much Gamecock football this morning for Gamecock Larry. We'll see if he changes the discussion on us as we continue to roll on this morning. When we come back, you're listening to the early game. It's 107.5 The Game.
The home of the Gamecocks and new head football coach, Shane Beamer.
Looks like you're entertaining yourself over there, Bill.
It just cracks me up.
Texts.
Yeah, it just cracked me up. Like, that and coffee is a good way to start. It's no Columbia News or Cola News Daily to start the day, but it's worth the price of admission.
When Clemson is worried and about little brother Gamecocks in football, you'll be an old man. LOL. Go Tigers. Beat Georgia.
Funny. It's only funny because he puts the question out asking us to compare the classes, clearly showing concern, but then doesn't like the answer.
He was being a bad troll there. He thought it was going to be much different, I think.
All right, let's see here. Somebody just put out the. There we go. I'm going to watch this on my phone so it doesn't play back through the speaker. But the trailer for the mini Saints of Newark.
Yeah. Is my mic loud?
Typically, you come in a little bit hotter or a little louder. You just speak very clearly, though.
I don't. Somebody tweeted me and said, "Back off the mic, my man." Sounds like Darth Vader.
I know, but that sometimes I have to ride your mic a little bit. It's a little bit hot, but
Darth Vader. It sounds like I was. It sounded like I was hyperventilating or something.
oh, I would hear.
I don't know what Darth Vader is supposed to mean.
Does he breathe in his mic or in that mask a lot? Like,
Yeah, I didn't think I was doing it. I'm not.
he's a leader.
Didn't I see that Steve Adazio was coaching high school football? Did I make that up? No, it was Colorado State. That's where he ended up, right? Yeah. All right. I think I got him confused with McCaffrey. McCaffrey's coaching up like Northern Colorado, maybe. We got Bill on mute, by the way.
Can you keep that going for the whole show?
Ah. Apparently, he just messes up my karma for Bill this month.
Watch The Sopranos a little bit.
What was that again, Bill?
I said, great. Now I got to go back and watch The Sopranos a little bit.
Chris is on your side on the live stream, Patrick.
All right, what did I miss? Why has Patrick got haters? What happened?
I don't know. Somebody said I sounded like Darth Vader.
On Twitter or?
Yeah, on Twitter.
You sound like Darth Vader. That's what they said.
I don't know. That's what he said.
I take that as a compliment.
It wasn't.
I mean, Darth Vader was one of the what do you think, top 5 villains, top 3 villains of all time?
Well,
I mean,
definitely
that
top
voice.
3 voice of all time.
I was gonna say that voice alone right there is. I mean, to get that kind of comparison.
You're James
Who
Earl
else?
Jones. Oh my gosh.
Who else did that voice, Bill?
Yeah, that's why it's so significant.
What?
I mean, that's a compliment.
Did you see how Jim, Clemson fan, has amended his Gamecock text? He originally referred to it as Gamecock football and then copied and pasted it and changed Gamecocks football to Little Brother Chicken football.
Oh.
It'd be an old man like Gamecock Larry, LOL.
We are a
Punched it up a little bit.
ray of sunshine in people's lives.
All right, heading back in. Guys, right?
Halftime show, your chance to win Elton John tickets this afternoon. Pair of Elton John Farewell Yellow Brick Road Tour tickets up for grabs, coming to Charlotte on Sunday, September 18th, Bank of America Stadium. And all week long, you listen to the halftime show for your chance to win some Elton John tickets. Want to get out to the Love Chevy phone lines. 803-404-6100 is the number. Our buddy, favorite 86-year-old caller, Gamecock,
to weigh in this morning. Gamecock Larry, congratulations. Mississippi State stays alive last night at the College World Series.
I told you I wasn't going to talk football until the baseball season's over. Tim, it's not over yet. But I will say one thing about football. All you Clemson fans, Georgia fans, we don't want you to worry about the Gamecocks so we can surprise you when we play you. Now let's talk a little bit of baseball, Tim. The NCAA got what they wanted. They gave the pitching staff of Vanderbilt an extra day of rest. They could have gave North Carolina State another day, a couple of days, but no, they want the Bluebirds of the SEC in the finals of the World Series. And what did you say the final score was? I fell asleep. I'm sorry, I woke up, the game was over. What was the final score?
13-2 Gamecock Larry last night. Mississippi State pounded Vandy. They're up, 7-1, I think, in the 7th inning.
Yeah, I fell asleep, but all I could hear them announce, Bluebirds, don't Tim Corbin got this, he got that going in the SEC and all that. But boy, I tell you what, I'm going to make sure I stay awake tonight. I'm going to have me a pot of coffee. I'm going to be ready because I didn't think I'd ever pull for a Bulldog, but the Bulldogs are going to take this tonight. Kumar Rocker, they gave him another day of rest, maybe 2 days, and I just hope he has to start tonight so they can show Bluebirds and Tim Corbin that there's more than one team in the SEC. Go Bulldogs! Go Bulldogs! Go Bulldogs!
Gamecock Larry, ladies and gentlemen.
Can we get this man a cowbell by 7 o'clock?
What was he saying? Bluebird?
Or Bluebirds? I don't know. I think because maybe Bluebirds whistle. Is that the deal? The Vandy Whistler? The extra day of rest for Kumar Rocker just doesn't make any sense at all, Gamecock Larry, because he pitched on Friday. So I get it. Vandy didn't have to play an extra game against NC State, but Kumar Rocker wasn't pitching in that game. He's not pitching the day after he just pitched.
Am I going to be the contrarian here that just doesn't have I feel like we did this a couple weeks ago, and you guys told me Tim Corbin was widely liked. Remember we did like coaches
Yep.
that people just don't like, and I threw Tim Corbin out there, and you guys were like, no, I'm pretty sure he's widely liked amongst his peers, amongst other fans.
Not me.
Well, I don't know
I
about
wouldn't know.
fans in general. I think in the coaching industry has a pretty good reputation. That's all. And then amongst his players, really pretty popular, and obviously able to get in the best pitchers in the country seemingly year in and year out. So doing something right for sure.
Well, I guess tonight I'll pull. I feel like I just to anger and ruffle feathers, I'll pull for Vanderbilt. I don't feel like anybody's pulling for them. I feel like they're on their own. Mississippi State's got them outnumbered. What do you think? 8-1 out there in terms of fans.
More than that. Looks like 100-1 when you watch.
10-1.
It's a bunch.
There's basically two dudes whistling, and the rest are Mississippi State fans.
We got some parents out there as well, but other than that, yeah.
Some parents, some player parents, but yeah, I get a couple
45
whistling along, but other than that, it's just a bunch of people from Starkville.
We'll see if we get the on-time game time tonight for the first time in this national championship series because of some weather. Set to start tonight at 7 o'clock. We'll have it for you here on 107.5 The Game starting at 6:45. Decisive Game 3 at the College World Series, Mississippi State and Vanderbilt after last night's 13-2 pounding for Mississippi State to force tonight's, if necessary, game.
15.
Ryan Brubaker was the headliner for Gamecock football yesterday, an offensive lineman out of the state of Pennsylvania, to make his commitment public. Who knows where hour 2 will take us on the early game.
WNK Eastover, Columbia. Total coverage. Right here. 107.5 The Game.
A Cumulus station.
Well, apparently Beth from Lamar is not a Corbin fan.
Corbin is a jerk. That's what she texted.
Oh, there you go. Her assessments are pretty spot on usually.
Some high-level rhetoric on the text line this morning.
Did you say something about Elton John?
Yeah, yes. You can win tickets in the afternoon.
I didn't notice that.
Is Jay gonna sing?
I think he leaves that to Tommy.
Tommy's gonna sing Elton John songs like crooner style, and that's what it is.
Is it a random caller game or is it a contest?
I think they're doing some sort of little contest where you have to. I think they're doing a lyric and they have to sing the song.
Well, he does put on a really good show. There's no question.
That is a hot ticket.
Yeah, but it is September 2022 when he's coming to Charlotte.
Exactly. So you have even more time.
Longest farewell Yellowbrook Road tour in history. I think it's already come around to Columbia.
Well, it's coming back again. It's coming to Columbia as well.
Longest farewell tour.
I'm surprised we're giving away Charlotte tickets because he is coming to Colonial Life Arena again.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I assume the next night.
Right.
Well, people might want to get away to Charlotte.
I Uber drove that last time he was here. It's pretty successful night.
Oh, wow.
They're giving those tickets away all over the place. I heard them. DC Radio's been giving them away all week too. Nope. A year and a half in advance.
Right.
Plenty of time to plan around that night though. There's no excuse for not finding a babysitter.
Exactly. Actually, may not even be pregnant yet and still can find a babysitter.
Yeah.
So this guy is an edge rusher from Florida. Is that right, Phil?
Mason Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think they're recruiting him to play linebacker. 6'3", 215, but yeah, kind of an edge guy. I get the feeling that
So what did the injury look like for Giannis there? Did he step on somebody? Just land weird?
they threw an alley-oop. He kind of went up to defend it, and his leg just came down and inverted almost.
Ugh.
Yeah, it wasn't pretty.
Bunch of people under the hoop, but I don't think he stepped on anybody.
No, he didn't. He just landed on it and just kind of it went backwards and he went forwards.
What time in the game?
It was third quarter. He went out, but then he came back. I don't know if he went back in the game.
And it was ruled back out again.
Yeah, he laid there. It looked when he was laying there, it looked bad. His brother helped him off. He got into kind of the tunnel and kind of was able to walk around on his own. Came back out, but yeah.
The game was also all but not over, but it was pretty much in hand at that point as well.
Yeah, it was. So, but.
Middleton's plus minus was a minus 25. It was by far the worst in the game.
Wow.
You can't be a max player and have 2 of the 4 games you've been just horrendous, and then 1 of the games you were superhuman.
Yeah.
I feel like this would be a good night for a Mississippi State fan to just take one for the team and like sucker punch one of the whistlers in the first inning.
Is that really taking one for the team? I mean,
he's getting kicked out. I'm pretty sure that's an expensive ticket.
It's true. It's a good point. I think I've done some serious damage to my palm.
How expensive do you think the suites are for College World Series?
Well, I get per game.
Give me today. So
by the pack. I wonder if it's.
Yeah, I didn't know if they saw that.
I'd guess in the ballpark of 20,000, 22,000.
There's that video of Dak yesterday, I guess, signing a ball and throwing it down. I wonder how much money he paid.
Hey, guys, are up.
Phil Gunter going full anti-guy this morning.
Yeah, pretty much at this point.
Craig hits us up on the Facebook live stream, says the Whistler is so hateable. And it seems to be the world versus Vanderbilt baseball. 13-2 last night's final score, forcing tonight winner take all. And what has become Starkville, Omaha, with all the Mississippi State fans looking to win their first ever national championship. What was the other school that has won 0 national championship? Didn't you bring this up?
I believe it's just Kansas State and Virginia Tech.
Wow.
Never won a national championship in any sport.
And Mississippi State. Wow, that is, I think the Power 5 schools we're talking about. The only 3 Power 5 schools who haven't done it. And it was 11 years ago to the day yesterday when Carolina won its first one in Whit Merrifield, celebrating his walk-off hit, the anniversary of that, with a home run in the big leagues last night. Other Gamecock baseball news, and we have a texter bringing this up as well. Do you guys have any idea why David Mendham would transfer? The Gamecock first baseman, that news coming out yesterday. He's jumping in the transfer portal, joining several guys who saw plenty of playing time last year. Mendham the most. It was Brendan Malone over at third base. Saw a lot of starting playing time, and Jeff Heinrich as well got in the starting lineup. But those guys kind of split time, and Malone dealt with an injury. The question is on the text line, since we're talking about why would he transfer? I guess we brought up Tim Corbin and coaches being liked and the whole thing. And it was interesting news. I guess we haven't talked about Mark Kingston getting an extension from the Board of Trustees on Friday when they met after our show, or they made it official after our show. But to me, this is pretty simple. You have some tough conversations after seasons. All coaches in all sports do it. You have exit meetings with players. And this is the opportunity for coaches to set expectations. And simply, to me, the reason he would transfer is that meeting didn't go how he wanted it to go. I'm guessing how he wanted it to go was, hey, we know you didn't hit and produce like we know you can. First base is yours going into the next season. And I'm guessing it went the opposite. That in reality, I'm sure Mendham knows as well that at first base for South Carolina, you can't hit 243 with 5 home runs and 28 RBIs. It's one of the reasons the Gamecocks season ended in the regions. You just got to have more production there, especially there and at third base. And that's why I think we're seeing those guys on the corners who did not produce how Carolina needed them to produce, finding or looking for another opportunity elsewhere. Bill, do you see it differently than that?
I don't know how much it has to do with the potential of adding another transfer. When you're right, you've at 243. I don't know, but South Carolina's bringing in Brant Belk, the Missouri first baseman, the former Missouri first baseman, who comes in last year. Belk, again out of the transfer portal, hit 273 with 15 doubles and 1 triple and 2 home runs last year. Left-handed hitter, so. Maybe that was the conversation. Is Brant Belk expected to take over at first base for Mendham? That's within the team there that I guess you would have those conversations. But that seems to be a correlation there when South Carolina adds an SEC transfer, not just a guy from another program, but a program that's in your own conference, adds a first baseman who batted a little bit better, and maybe David Mendham either seeing the writing on the wall or having a conversation and not feeling he's going to get a fair chance. That seems to be the correlation, right? You add a transfer who's a first baseman, you lose a guy who was your starting first baseman. That would seem to make sense, right?
Yeah, absolutely makes sense to me. The timing of this has been a little odd, though. I guess the news of Belk coming to the Carolina program broke, I think, about a week ago or so. It took that long for a conversation to happen, or just David Mendham to make his decision. But it was a tough year for Carolina on the corners. So I'm not surprised to see a roster adjustments kind of accordingly there. And South Carolina at first base, you got to be a really good player. I mean, how many guys have we seen go on to big league careers that have played first base for Carolina recently? Justin Smoke leading the way, and Steve Pierce not far behind. Christian Walker in the big leagues right now. It kind of switched, Bill, during my days going to school. It was Adam Everett, the Team USA shortstop, transferring in with Ray Tanner from NC State, and then Brian Roberts transferring in from North Carolina, another longtime major leaguer, and was an all-star that took over for Everett after that, and then Drew Meyer, a first-round draft pick, and made it to the big leagues, took over after that. So it was kind of shortstop you there for the Gamecocks for a while, and then I think it did shift when you have a World Series MVP and Steve Pierce, who followed Justin Smoke, and then Christian Walker in the big leagues as well, first base, a position that Carolina saw a lot of sustained success through the year. Kyle Martin was really a good player and is, I think, still in baseball in the minor leagues. Who are you thinking of?
Well, I was just going way back to the original World Series or the first World Series team, and I was trying to think of who the connection was from Ron Peters to Justin Smoke, because I think it was about a 2 or 3 year gap, or was Peters in 2002? Does that seem right?
Yeah, Jerome Peters was 2002.
Jerome Peters.
Then 03 and 04. Ooh, that's a good one. Who was playing first base for the Gamecocks back then? It was Pierce in 04, I believe, in his junior year. It didn't make it in 05. And I might be skipping 03. I have to go back and look that one up. The Gamecock old school baseball days there from 18 years ago, 2003. First baseman for Carolina. Looks like you might be going after it on the Google machine there, Bill.
Well, I don't even know how to necessarily. I'm on the South Carolina Gamecocks online site, just seeing if they had stats from way back when, from yesteryear.
Okay.
But yeah, it was.
I know. Well, speaking of the corners, then you had Brian Busher, I believe, on that 03 team playing third and producing a bunch. I think that was his first year. I know he was there on that 04 team for sure. But we'll get you some of those names and numbers. Interesting, though. I think, to me, what it shows is that Mark Kingston understands what the expectation is for Gamecock baseball and has relayed that clearly to players who just meet those expectations for whatever reasons. Bill, what are you finding over there?
Are you kidding me? No, the South Carolina, it went all the way back to 2003, and then you click on the link for statistics, and it says it looks like you're lost. The page you're looking for no longer exists. And I was like, oh, I found it, but no, apparently they've taken that. But I'll continue a little bit of a search here and see if we can see what we can dig up here in the 03. We're going to the 03 season, to which apparently the page has been disconnected. That's lovely.
Yeah. 803-404-6100 is the number into the program. Up, I got a box score up, and I'm seeing the first baseman for the Gamecocks in their first game of the College World Series in 2003. Brian Triplett.
How about that?
I've definitely heard of him.
I think he bounced around a little bit on the infield and has played multiple positions. And I believe now as a lawyer in town, Brian Triplett, but good name from back in the day. 2003, Gamecock first baseman, going back in the archives. He had 2 hits and an RBI in that first Gamecock game in 2003 in the College World Series, where they lost to Stanford, then went on a bit of a run, or at least won the next game. I believe it was against LSU that following game. That was my first trip out to Omaha in the College World Series, where you'll get a decisive Game 3 tonight with Mississippi State and Vandy. Patrick, you're not going to join Bill and just be the evil wrestlers of the show and hope that Vandy wins the championship, are you? Sounds like he could be convinced.
I don't know. I think it's kind of funny that Mississippi State's one of 3 teams that have never won a national championship at any team sport, so I kind of think that'd be funny to continue it.
You're sick.
I mean, they're good people. They're good people in Starkville.
I don't know.
They have really not much else going for them down there. So I
they
mean,
stole some car flags off of the car when I went out there in 06, I think. I don't know.
I mean, cowbells are the worst. That's the worst shtick in all of college sports.
True. Chris says Brian Triplett representing Gilbert, America this morning. So that's where we start in hour number 2. We'll get back into our Gamecock football discussion with Ryan Brubaker, the big offensive lineman from Pennsylvania, the state of Pennsylvania, making his commitment public yesterday to Shea Beamer and company, and the first 4-star across the board. I guess Anthony Rose, a 4-star according to some recruiting services as well. But that helps the Gamecocks get up to number 21, at least as Rivals ranks the recruiting classes in the class of 2022, number 21 in the country, just a couple spots behind Clemson right now. take that for what it's worth. We'll try to put it in perspective for you as we roll on. 803-404-6100. If you would like to join the show, you can call or text. It's the early game. It's 107.5.
What that was.
Nice word, Trey. Morning from the Atlanta airport. Austin for the 4th should be fun.
Sweet.
Austin, no, I think it's Austin for the 4th. Austin, Texas. Somebody meant that was his 4th trip. That makes a lot more sense. What golf tournament is this weekend? Let's look. Like, is there any? Is it what have we got as a sports weekend here?
I guess it's somewhere in the Northeast. Austin would be my guess.
Got to be a weak field, right?
Oh yes, no, we're in Detroit. The Rocket Mortgage Classic. Oh, Tuesday night is the match. What is that? That's DeChambeau and Brady versus.
Oh, yeah. Tuesday?
No, it's DeChambeau and Rogers because
Rogers.
Brooks
Brady.
Koepka tweeted at Rogers and said, "Sorry, bro."
That's right. Versus Brady and Manning, right?
Phil.
Brady and Phil.
Phil. Okay. Oh, why'd I say Manning? Manning doesn't play golf. Or he
Yes,
plays
he
golf.
does. He was in the original match.
He's not the professional. Let's see. I'm just scrolling through who's playing this weekend. I saw Kevin Kisner's name pop up. Bubba Watson. Got a little Hideki Matsuyama action in there. Matty Neesmith is in there. Okay, so golf will not be on the top of my list of things watching this weekend.
Nope. Soccer will be.
Soccer may yes, nothing. There's nothing that screams America more than soccer and hockey for the weekend. I'm pretty sure that's what our founding fathers started the country on. Hot dogs, apple pie, hockey, and soccer.
A French hockey team in the Euro Cup. Wonderful.
You know, and Euro Cup to me just sounds something medicinal. It does not sound at all like.
Just out of curiosity, will England play on? Well, I guess it's Sunday. Sunday's technically the 4th. Does England play on Sunday? Because I find myself in a weird spot rooting for
No one
England
does
on Independence Day. Huh?
No one plays on Sunday.
No one plays on Sunday. It's nice of it's
Friday
nice
and Saturday.
to honor our holiday by not playing.
Is there a hot dog eating contest this year?
I don't see why not.
Good question. We didn't have it last year, I wouldn't think, right?
I don't think so.
No.
You know, so Chip called and said that one reason that you could root for Mississippi State is a bunch of their coaches are from South Carolina, not USC, but like Lamonis is from Myrtle Beach. What did you say? The pitching coach or something is from like Greer, Foxhall. So I don't know, kind of an interesting little twist. Maybe no one cares, but
I'm not from South Carolina.
I'm not cheering for you.
Is anybody from Maryland? Anybody involved in this thing from Maryland?
No Old Bay in Omaha.
I'm cheering for Vanderbilt because of all the contributions Tracy Rocker made to our university.
Wow. Okay.
Okay.
I'm glad that you're on my side, but all right.
Kumar Rocker is pitching tonight, right?
Is he?
Don't know. I don't think they announced it. I would assume.
Yeah, I mean that's what I said. It would be what 4 days rest. Is that right? Is that how they do it? 3 days rest?
No, 4. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday.
That's true. Today's Wednesday, isn't it? All right, we're halfway through the week. No, Josh. Muschamp had a top 20 class. Muschamp. I think Muschamp's highest was 18. Muschamp recruited fine. He didn't coach good. Got to be able to coach. I think Muschamp. He might have gotten a. Muschamp. Huh?
Cocky D says he's 98% sure they did have a hot dog eating contest last year. Electric TV.
How would they have done that though? We were like in the.
Let's see, 2016.
A lot of gloves and hand sanitizer and spacing.
Definitely no fans.
Yeah, no fans. Nobody was allowed to be there.
Oh
Yep.
yeah, it wasn't even in. It was indoors, and they're all in between plexiglass.
Makes it hard to get the hot dogs in there.
That's not the same.
11 o'clock on the 4th, man.
Is it going to actually be on the 4th? The 4th being on a Sunday is weird
I know.
because everything will be on Saturday and then everybody will be relaxing on the 4th.
Exactly. There you guys are up.
Kentucky Joe on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line, 803-404-6100. Shane Beamer's making some noise recruiting, winning some big ones. I hope the momentum continues, he says. My Wildcats are recruiting well, too. Which school has the better class right now? Looking at the Rivals recruiting rankings nationally, Kentucky's at number 16 in the country. The Gamecocks at number 21. Both schools have 11 commits. Kentucky has 6 of them rated as 4-star guys. The Gamecocks with 2 of their 11 4-star guys, according to Rivals.com. So pretty similar numbers there, but Kentucky a few spots ahead in the national recruiting rankings. Kentucky Joe finishes or continues on with his text. Says, I haven't seen those numbers for Kentucky, though I know that they have a pretty strong class on paper so far, and I read that Mike Bobo's son is still looking at Kentucky, and Mike was with him on his official visit to Kentucky this weekend. I was surprised by that, and Kentucky has a legacy commitment he wanted us to know from Texas. What do you think, Bill? How does that go if an opposing offensive coordinator within the conference goes with his son? That's I believe his son is Drew, who played at Hammond and is now moved with his dad, I believe, over to Auburn as offensive lineman and a big-time prospect for a lot of SEC schools. How would you think that would work? That's got to be a little awkward, doesn't it?
No, I'm just looking real quick. I don't know if Kentucky and Auburn play each other this year. I don't think they do. I don't see it on the schedule here as I scroll through Kentucky's schedule. So I'm sure that makes it less awkward. Also, you got to imagine Mark Stoops has been around. He's been in the SEC for obviously, 9 or 10 years, but also his time at Florida State. He's been around the Southeast, I guess is what I'm going. So you got to think he is a defensive coordinator. Mike Bobo is an offensive coordinator. I'm sure there's been times they've run into each other somewhere on the recruiting trail. So I would imagine there's a relationship there, even though you're talking about Bobo being at Georgia and Stoops being at Florida State for a small period of time. But again, being in the SEC and then at Georgia and Kentucky, I would assume, I can't remember exactly when Bobo, I think it was 2014 is when Bobo went to Colorado State. So I'm sure, the two of them, Stoops being, again, a defensive guy and Bobo being an offensive guy, maybe some conversations at coaches' clinics or something, just kind of cutting up since they've had to face each other. So I'm sure there's a relationship there. And look, Mike Bobo's, he's been around. He's not a spring chicken. So going and seeing what Kentucky does on official visits, I'm sure not really a huge surprise for him. Interesting.
What do you think about Mark Stoops and that Kentucky class, since Kentucky Joe is bringing it up?
Kentucky's interesting. I think we brought him up not too long ago, just in regards to how Mark Stoops had done and the record there, and if South Carolina, if Shane Beamer does, or if he follows what Mark Stoops had done, and would he get a year 5? I think is what we brought up. If I'd have to go back and look at Stoops' record, and I think we all agreed that he wouldn't. But Kentucky's one of those programs, man, where they're getting what they want out of Stoops, and now you get a kid that they in Kenyatta Goodwin, the offensive tackle, who's their highest rated guy out of Indiana, and they've got another linebacker that's really good, another offensive tackle. So they've done a good job with rebuilding their offensive lines. It seems like a stable program. That's why I say I don't know I don't know if I'd necessarily say that Kentucky is more talented across the board than South Carolina is. What I think we can definitively say is they've been better coached without question. Even the 1 year South Carolina won the game over the last 6 years, Kentucky managed to get better as the season went on. They put an athlete at quarterback in Lynn Bowden and go on and win a bowl game and do good things, whereas South Carolina had a 4-star elite prospect at quarterback and finished 4-8. I mean, think about that. So I don't think
Who was that quarterback for Kentucky?
Sawyer Smith, I believe.
Sawyer Smith, that's the one. He was terrible.
He was the one that, against South Carolina. I mean, you can make the argument if they put, I think, Bowden in at the end of the game, and that's when Kentucky went down and scored. I think, if I'm remembering, that was South Carolina.
Yeah, Sawyer Smith was the worst quarterback to play in Wilkes-Barre Stadium that year. I don't know who they played
that year
at the FCS, but yeah, he was the worst. Yeah.
He's following up on Jacob Eason's tremendous performance, I think, from the year before.
But the point is, there's no questions asked that Kentucky has been better coached again, and I'll throw that year in. Yeah, they made a mistake. They went with Sawyer Smith. I think that was the first game that he actually started, either the first or the second. I want to say he came in at like halftime of the game prior, and he was obviously, as Patrick was pointing out, he was awful. And then they made the switch late in the game. Kentucky went down and scored. You almost think, well, if they'd have gone with Bowden earlier in the game, is it Bowden or Bowden? I think it's Bowden, right?
I thought it was Bowden.
No, it looks like Bowden, but it's pronounced Bowden.
Okay, all right. So anyway, the point being is I think it's a very stable program. I think you can make that's why I have a hard time with just chalking that one up for any kind of victory for South Carolina, even though it's at home, even though I think the talent on both sides is equal, maybe favored slightly in Kentucky's way, but I think that it's a very even game. I like Mark Stoops. I think he's been very stable for that program, and feel like you can chalk it up the way they'll do their non-conference schedule. Real quick, they'll have Louisville, but they'll also have Louisiana Monroe, Chattanooga, and New Mexico State. So that should be 3 wins for them. We'll see if they can win at Louisville. Then you throw in Vanderbilt. They should win that. They're probably as good or equal to Tennessee. They'll be at Mississippi State. I mean, you look at Kentucky, they'll be bowl eligible. I'd be shocked if they're not bowl eligible. Obviously, South Carolina, again, they're on the road, but they're even with, maybe slightly better. They're not. Their Western Division games are LSU, Mississippi State, and I think that's it. LSU, Mississippi State. So, yeah, Kentucky will be bowl eligible this year. So you got to say that that's a very stable program.
Well, I think the point of our conversation the other day when you brought up Mark Stoops and his record, 1 game under 500, 49-50, I think, overall in his time at Kentucky. And yet we think of him as one of the SEC's better coaches, I think, because we all understand the challenges there of that job in that school, not having a bunch of history to rely on. It's going to be interesting to see how these things evolve, both Shane Beamer and the Kentucky job with Mark Stoops having all the experience, the Tennessee job now with Josh Heupel coming in, what Missouri continues to do with Eli Drinkwitz in his second year, as well as I feel like those schools, what I named 4 of them, Tennessee, Carolina, Kentucky, and Missouri, all kind of jockey for that 3rd position in the SEC right now behind Georgia and Florida, who seem to be Georgia has a big gap, and then I think there's a gap there with Florida between the other 4 schools, and then there's a gap between those 4 schools and the challenge that Clark Lee and Vandy has and will always have there. More Kentucky recruiting rankings, by the way. Florida right now is 1 commitment behind and 1 recruiting ranking spot behind the Gamecocks right now, and the Rivals team recruiting rankings at number 22 overall, with 10 recruits, but 5 of them being 4-star guys. Something else to keep an eye on. And Bill, you responded to Josh on the Facebook live stream, I believe is where he's listening today, asking if Will Muschamp ever had a number 21 recruiting ranking, which is where Shane Beamer has this class of 2022 right now, according to the national recruiting rankings from Rivals. And you mentioned that, yes, Will Muschamp did have at least number 21 recruiting classes in the country, and would you say as high as number 18? I think maybe 16 he got up to, or something like that, different services. But making sure that Josh and others aren't doing revisionist history right now and taking the positive momentum of what Shane Beamer has with 11 commits right now, not taking it a little bit too far, would you say?
Yeah, I was just trying to go back very quickly because I was using 24/7 Sports, but I flipped over to Rivals real quick and just see where South Carolina got the 2018 class. South Carolina finished 18th. I mean, it is positive. It's all about It's going to be about development for South Carolina for the next few years. They've got to win football games. You get a chance. There are some really good players coming up in the state of South Carolina that maybe you can land. Xavier McLeod next year is one of them. Monroe Freeling, the offensive tackle out of Oceanside Collegiate, is another guy. Cam Pringles, a big offensive tackle in the 2024 class. And I only use the classes in the future because those are classes that if you can win on the football field, maybe those kids can look at it and say, okay, I do see progress happening at South Carolina. But until then, it's going to be tough to go in and battle for some of the elite prospects. And so it's going to be about landing guys that you can develop and can get better and can really contribute to your program. And we'll see if South Carolina is able to go about doing that here. There's some nice players in this class. I'm not dogging this class, but it's going to be about developing some of them into quality SEC players, and that comes down to coaching. How does Greg Adkins do with these three offensive linemen? Justin Stepp landing the young man, Kylie Horton, I believe. It was Kyrie Horton. You still got to be able to develop him. And so that's part of it. That's going to be a lot more of South Carolina's focus right now, and it's going to have to be until they can win, 7 games. Let's just start with 7 and then hopefully show progress. Because you come out and you win 4 or 5 this year, I don't know if that's progress. They probably would have won 4 or 5 games last year had you played the bad non-conference schedule. I don't know what the first game would have looked like. Maybe Coastal would have beaten them if you'd have had a regular off season like we would have had, and then Coastal would have come in for the first game. I can't remember who the other maybe East Carolina was on the schedule last year, I think, Tim.
Sounds right.
I can't remember who the other non-conference games were, but you figure they get their 2 random SEC victories. Maybe they win 2 more non-conference games. Maybe they lose that Coastal game. They would have gotten to 4. So that's why I'm not really willing to say 4 is progress this year. 5, would have probably been status quo for last year. So we'll see. You got to be able to show progress and show the elite recruits that you are making that progress on the field.
We'll kick off the second half of the show. Coming up next, 803-404-6100. If you would like to join, you can call or text. It's the early game. It's 107.5 The Game.
Does anybody else know exactly what South Carolina's schedule was supposed to be last year?
Yeah, they got erased pretty good. I forget what it was.
Yeah, it is crazy how all that completely disappeared from the internet.
Maybe I have a screenshot of it somewhere.
All right, here we go. South Carolina announces 2020 football schedule. This was from August 7th of 2019. So, yeah, it was Coastal Carolina, East Carolina, and Missouri to start the year. Then at Kentucky, at Florida, Tennessee. Wofford was the other one. No guarantee. Well, they were playing. No guarantee they would have beaten Wofford at the end of the season. Oh, but they weren't playing Auburn, which is weird. They did go to LSU. They picked up 2. They picked up 2 teams, Auburn and Mississippi. They played Mississippi again. So 1-1 against teams.
And Utah State, Toledo, Air Force, and Arkansas State in the recruiting ranking.
Yeah. So Patrick, are you a follower of Wimbledon? Is this what we're in, the second round now?
Is that Wimbledon with a D or a T?
Is it Wimbledon?
Yes.
Yeah. We've told you that before.
That's what I say. I just don't care to finish off the Wimbledon. Fine, I'll be very official. I'll say it in English. Wimbledon.
Yeah, I think that's how they all pronounce it.
Yeah, that's what they say over there in
Across the pond.
what's the right now? You got me looking up Wimbledon.
But of course, yes, that's how they said.
I know. I'm looking up to see. I haven't watched it since Agassi beat somebody back in like '93.
Back.
I'm on court 14 right now.
Okay.
It is weird, right? The fourth weekend is all about inter-sport events right now. I throw NHL hockey in there, especially the Montreal Canadiens being in the Stanley Cup Finals. You got international soccer that a lot of people are interested in. I know, Patrick, you've been keeping tabs on, was it the Euro Cup, and then is it Copa America? Was it South
Copa
America?
America is going on right now, but that is dwarfed by the Euros because, I mean, all of the best teams are European.
And Bill, that's not serious, right? You've watched Wimbledon since Andre Agassi played.
No, I don't think I have. I don't think I remember getting up that morning. Who did he beat? What? I mean, I don't even know what year that was, but I know it was a lot. It was when Agassi was, I guess, really coming into his prime. So maybe 93-ish, 94-ish. Was it 92?
Yeah. Ivanisevic.
I mean, you didn't watch Nadal's first Wimbledon against Federer?
No, I can tell you, I haven't watched.
One of, if not the greatest tennis match ever played.
Yeah, no, I haven't watched. Tennis is one sport that I've just couldn't really say.
It's so much more entertaining than golf.
Let's hear your sales pitch.
Well, golf, it's just like you watch a guy swing and then you watch where it lands. Like on TV,
how it works. That is a good point.
On TV, it's just like you see them like hit a drive, and then you see nothing, and then it's like, all right, here's the ball rolling on the grass. At least tennis, they're going back and forth, like making good shots. Like it's impressive. Golf is just there's nothing to watch on TV.
Well,
I wish I could get into it.
You don't have any love for golf because you don't play golf.
I don't play tennis either, but I like watching it.
Okay.
And I never played hockey, but I love watching it.
Okay. I'm not saying you have to play something to watch it, but I do think
you become more invested.
That is specific to it. If you don't play golf, I think it is hard to appreciate how those shots are executed.
Not to Patrick, I'm not saying people from Maryland don't play golf because obviously there's plenty of good courses there. But Tim, you would agree South Carolina is probably at the top, if not the top golfing state in this country. Maybe throw Florida in there. I don't know. Maybe people would argue. I guess just maybe larger Arizona. States. Yeah, maybe Arizona. But I mean, okay, easily top 5. And in my time growing up, going to Myrtle Beach, and I think Myrtle Beach peaked, around 2004, 2005 in terms of, I think it was like 120 some odd golf courses down there. Like the state, I mean, you look around, we were mentioning it earlier, Matt Neesmith this week from North Augusta's in the Rocket Mortgage Open, Kevin Kisner from Aiken. I mean, the state has produced a lot. Again, I'm not saying Maryland is up there not knowing what a golf ball is, or nobody up there is playing golf. I do just think
A lot of people
growing up in this state, golf is kind of a staple. I'm sure a lot of people have gone out and tried it once or twice. You might not like it. You might be really angry with it. But it's kind of the old joke that everybody has a set of golf clubs somewhere in their garage. Might have a lot of dust on them, but they're in there somewhere collecting dust. So I don't know. It's a different sport. I think it's something that I get into a little bit more. Tennis, I got into a little bit at an early age and liked playing it, but not like competitively, like going out and playing tennis with friends, whatnot. But yeah, golf is different. I like the action when you talk about that. You go from one to the other, and you're kind of watching. You get a good golf tournament. It's always pretty entertaining.
But if you've played tennis at all, you know how difficult tennis is. So that should make you appreciate it played at the highest level even more, because tennis is very difficult.
You're exactly right about it. I don't disagree with that at all. Hitting one of the serves that they hit is like with the speed and the power is absolutely incredible. I don't disagree with you at all.
But when I was growing up, U.S. men's tennis was relevant, very relevant. You mentioned Andre Agassi, Pete Sampras was the guy as well. And then to now see no one in the United States for a while, I guess Andy Roddick was the last highly ranked men's player. Patrick, did you get any of Andy Roddick competing at these Grand Slam events, or have you just known it to be an international game on the men's side?
No, I mean, I remember watching Andy Roddick play, but he was still nowhere near the level of Federer. I mean, that's what's funny is like it was so big, 20 years ago, and none of those guys were living through by far the greatest generation of men's tennis in the sport's history. Like Federer, Nadal, Djokovic are so much better than McEnroe, Sampras, and Agassi. Like, but no one cares. So it is kind of a shame. Yeah, in this country.
That's kind of my journey. And then on the women's side of things, it used to be the opposite. I think it used to be much more of an international deal, and then Serena Williams just kind of has dominated, and Venus obviously has her share of tennis success as well. We talked about Richard Williams, their father, and how they were brought up to be tennis champions, and the emphasis on tennis in their life. Yesterday when we were talking about the paths for young athletes and travel ball and all of that kind of stuff, just kind of ironic that it comes into today with Wimbledon being one of the options this week.
If you were given a free ticket to Wimbledon, but you have to pay for yourself to get there and lodging, but you get a free ticket, and I don't know how the tickets work. Like Patrick, you might know this, or maybe Jen, Tim, y'all do. Like, I don't know if a ticket gets you on the grounds or if you can go sit in center court. But let's say you've got access to whatever. As I sit here and look at it, you get the free ticket. You can go all over the grounds. You can go sit on center court and watch the match. But you've got to pay to fly across the pond to get over there. You got to pay for some lodging. Would you do it?
All I get is a free ticket to the match?
So whatever. I don't know. Make it a week or whatever.
But they're hard to come by. Like I don't even
know
to get tickets.
I guess my point on this is like, okay, you've got to put a little effort into getting yourself there. But you're getting to go for free.
A vacation, if I surrounded it with other things that I was going to do, then yeah, I think it'd be kind of cool to watch.
Because I just wonder, as I'm sitting here watching, it looks like a really neat place, like a bucket item sports list to go to. Where on the bucket item sports list is it? How much are you investing to go? It's one thing, because I think most sports fans, across the board, they understand, like say they might not be a fan of golf, but they understand the Masters. They might not be a fan of tennis, but they understand the majors in tennis. You might not be a fan of Indy racing, but you understand the 500. Like, you understand the elite events, right? And if somebody said, hey man, I'm going to pay for you to go and get a free ticket, it's hard for me to imagine most sports fans saying, okay, well, I get a free trip. You're paying for the plane flight. You're paying for the lodging. You're paying for the ticket. Yeah, I'll go to that. But if you've got to put a little bit of work into it, you got to actually make the travel. You got to pay a little bit for the travel, but you get the free ticket. Where does it now fit into your agenda of going to a sports item?
I think the older I get, the higher up on the list it goes. Maybe, I don't know if it has anything to do with age or just not having been to London and all. Patrick, I think that's one of your international destinations that you have been to. Is that right?
The only one that I've been to, yeah. But I think
Maybe not
people,
on
I think
yours.
people understand how the gravity of center court at Wimbledon, like everything about it. Like they might not know. Most people probably can't name. They might not be able to name all four tennis majors, and like nobody really cares. I mean, the U.S. Open's big, but I mean, people aren't going out of their way to travel to New York City for the U.S. Open anymore. Like not really, at least. But I mean, the all white, the grass, just like everything about Wimbledon it just like feels special. It is like the Masters in that way. Like
I
it does
am
feel like a
I
much
would
bigger
study
deal.
hard though, because I'd want to make sure that I followed all the protocols and the
Yeah.
etiquette and stuff like that. So I'd like your, I'd have to have the.
I am
Wimbledon
interested in
for
this.
dummies.
You just brought up. See, I didn't know this about Wimbledon as I sit here and watched. Like they just showed a women's match. Both girls were wearing all white. Now they flipped over to a men's match. The guy that I'm watching is wearing all white. That's a thing? Like and I guess the other
you
guy's
have to.
wearing all white now. Like they have to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's part of the etiquette.
Tim, you're shaking your head like this is just. I mean, is okay.
I am. Didn't realize this, or it just didn't dawn on you?
No, I'm on the Wimbledon website. Wimbledon traditions include a strict all-white dress code for competitors and royal patronage. Strawberries and cream are traditionally consumed at the tournament. Seems like a day. That sounds like a Seinfeld episode of Costanza out there eating the ice cream on a hot day.
It's just
Sounds
classic.
dangerous. Strawberries and
Classic.
cream and wearing all white seems like quite the task if you're there.
Well, at least it's not
That-
chocolate dipped strawberries. That
That's
could be
true.
a little worse.
But that was the U.S. Open, I think, in that Seinfeld episode, right? The
That's
U.S.
what I'm saying. Yeah, that sounds like that's why I said it sounds like a U.S. Open scenario for Costanza there.
803-404-6100, the number into the program. Mac hits us up and says that South Carolina has the second most golf courses in the country. Arizona, the only other state with more. Clinton says, I love watching golf on Sunday, especially if I can get in 2 naps. And Teddy D, our buddy Teddy D, says, I need to get Patrick out on the golf course. Let me know the day and I'll get the tee time.
No.
You in, Patrick?
Nope. Thank you.
What?
Well, maybe he knows he'll get shown up by TD3 there, who's went 7 at Pinehurst. That's part of it as well. And 803-404-6100, the number into the show. The game. It's 107.5 the game.
On air, on the air, online.
I really didn't know this about the all white, and I probably could have watched the entire tournament and never put 2 and 2 together.
And
on
from
that.
the Shepherd's Glass Traffic Center, Shepherd's Glass.
That's probably the one thing that everyone doesn't know about it, or that it's on grass, I guess.
Well, I know that it's on grass.
No shot, you know the rule about fifth sets.
The rule about fifth sets.
What's different about Wimbledon that they don't do?
They don't do the. Is it a 2-point tiebreaker or?
They don't do a fifth set tiebreaker. You got to break a serve. That's why you see Wimbledon. There was that Wimbledon match with Isner from UGA that went multiple days.
He's the
They
guy
just
playing
kept-
right now. Isner right now. He's playing.
Oh, you're watching him right now. He's one of our best Americans. I'm watching Joe Wilfred Songa because I like watching him play.
Sure.
It's a much more casual setting for the fans in these lower courts, though.
Yeah, that would be the biggest jip ever if you go to Wimbledon, but you never go to center court.
Right.
Morning, Hope. Morning, Troy. Jan, tell us how Wimbledon was. Been to Wimbledon. And I hear St. Andrews is a bit disappointing. You actually go in person. Haven't been myself, but if you're looking for a pristine golf course, that's not exactly what it is.
Yeah, aren't you only playing St. Andrews for the name of it, not for
Just the fact that it
beauty
was
of it?
the first. Right?
It's kind of rugged, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah.
And is the weather really ever good to
No,
play around a golf there?
But I think that's part of playing it.
Part of it,
Is
yeah.
is that you like? I don't think you want to play it. I mean, I guess you walk out of there and you can brag about what you shot, but I think you'd rather say you shot like close to 100 on a rainy, windy day than like, oh, I shot 80 and it was like perfect temperatures and it was.
Yeah. You brave the elements.
How much? I wonder. I know people that have gone over and played St. Andrews. I wonder how much it is to play there. Does anybody know? Like, is it?
I think it's too ridiculous.
I mean, like, yeah, is it?
I was just talking to someone recently who played it. He said maybe like $300, something like that.
Oh, really? See, I don't know that. Now that's where you draw the line. Like, what do you want for $300? The experience, or do you want a good course?
Well, I'm not saying it's not a good course. I'm just saying it doesn't live up to a lot of expectations, I think.
Hey, we talked about this. If you played Pinehurst number 2, you can get carts. But to experience Pinehurst number 2 or a course like that, would you rather walk? Would you be willing to walk it for the day, or are you definitely getting a cart?
I think I'd have to walk it, but I'd be talking tough sitting down in my garage right now. I don't know. I'll actually been that on the course.
We're heading back in. Guys are up.
September 18th, 2022 just happens to be a Sunday. Why do I bring this up? Well, because you got a chance to win a pair of tickets to go see Elton John in Charlotte that day. Bank of America Stadium is the spot. And this afternoon, your chance on the halftime show to win that pair of tickets to the Farewell Yellow Brick Road Tour for Elton John. 2022, September 18th is the date that he will be up in Charlotte, and your chance to win again this afternoon on the halftime show with Jay, Tommy, and Pierce. Thanks for joining the early game here this morning. Hope your Wednesday morning, the last day of June, is going well. It will give us the last college baseball game of the season tonight with Mississippi State and Vanderbilt in that national championship game. Also, international options on your 4th of July holiday weekend. It's kind of how we started talking about Wimbledon on the Euro Cup and other international options. Kind of ironic, I think, on the Independence Day weekend. That those are some of your options.
But there will be soccer on Sunday, and at least ESPN will be playing I think they usually do, just the Great American lineup of hot dog eating contest, followed by cornhole, followed by spike ball championships, followed by whatever else they have.
NASCAR race.
NASCAR. They could start off with a Formula One race and then watch NASCAR in the afternoon. They're back in Russia for the second week in a row in Formula One.
A coworker used to go to Wimbledon. An anonymous texter hits us up every year. He says he once got a warning for moving one seat over from security there. Pretty strict. I don't know if that's going to help make me want to go there more or less. I think probably less. Thomas hits us up and says, John McEnroe, the only person that made tennis relevant. It's totally classic to watch him, even at Wimbledon, argue with the officials, complain about a refrigerator being too loud. I hate tennis, Thomas says, but can totally watch him play just for the extras. Is that a part of it too? It might be a part of it. The personality, I don't know. Patrick, it sounds like you are more of a tennis watcher. I'll turn on Wimbledon a little bit and probably watch a little bit of the finals, but besides that, it'll take a a special set of circumstances for me to sit down and watch Wimbledon or just tennis in general for more than a minute or two. And I think maybe the lack of personalities is part of it. Like, are there personalities to latch onto in tennis? Who you got?
I mean, the McEnroe of today is Nick Kyrgios, who's Australian. He is very much a hothead and like has like a mohawk and is always throwing his rackets and is he's very much that guy, and he's pretty polarizing. Like the tennis community mostly hates him because they're very proper. But yeah, that still exists. We just don't pay attention to it. And Serena's always gotten a hard time for that because she's very emotional and will yell at the line judges and all sorts of stuff. So I mean, it's still there. That part hasn't left. It's just not an American doing it on the men's side.
Curious, any good? Is he highly ranked anymore?
Yeah, he's a top 20 player. He's a good player. He's not won a major, but he's a good player.
Maybe it's just my arrogant American attitude with McEnroe. Jimmy Connors was kind of right there with him, I think, in that old school rivalry just before my time. I think I've always compared the personalities to in tennis. Hour number 3 coming up. Get back into the Gamecock football recruiting news of yesterday, and the national recruiting rankings looking pretty good for Shane Beamer and company. You're listening to the early game here. It's 107.5 p.m.
This is South.
Need to help my little dude get off to camp, so I'm going to run around here for a few minutes.
Awesome. Oh, can you knock off Bill? Patrick, are you logged in or you can hit him?
Patrick, you're on your own here. Jen and I are going to try and cut this sleep number. Can you hold it down and give it?
No pressure.
Yep.
Let's see what kind of monologue you can come up with, Patrick.
I might just unplug my camera and take this thing on the road with me while I go make coffee.
Nice.
All right. Here we go. Yeah, Hope on Vegas ESPN. Isner's playing Nishioka right now. All right. We're up. Let's go now. Cinnamon Toast Crunch Creamer. Delicious. Oh yeah, and my kitchen. I don't know if anybody caught the garbage disposal debate, but my garbage disposal is still unattached. I have not been able to get that thing fixed. Not a handyman.
Sleep number. ChipCore.com. Don't miss it. Lowest prices of the season, starting at $899, but it ends.
Let's look at Bill cutting spots. You done?
All done. All done.
Oh, I got some solid creamer options right now.
Uh-oh.
Got Cinnamon Toast Crunch
Okay.
and M&M's.
M&M's, huh?
Yeah, they were 2 for $5.
Cinnamon chocolate is what I understand. I think last week we were out of creamer. I was out of creamer, so I had to rely on Fruity Pebbles.
Fruity Pebbles
Creamer.
cereal or creamer?
Creamer.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't all it was cracked up to be.
Oh, I think the M&M creamer is new. It says new on the Coffee Mate.
All right. M&M creamer. I could give it a try. I mean, that just sounds like chocolate creamer, though.
It is
a fancy way of just.
No pumpkin spice cream. I'm not a pumpkin spice guy.
You're not a pumpkin spice guy?
No.
Well, I think it's something
seasonal.
Yeah. What I was gonna say is that I think you have to try it, or you have to do it around Halloween or November, and then you remember that you don't like it, and you just move on. It's like one of those things where you
get one.
Oh, this year might be the year. It's kind of like with eggnog for me. Every year I'm like, oh, I bet I'm gonna like eggnog this year, only to discover this is not the year that I like eggnog.
I like 1 cup of eggnog.
I actually did. I bought the pre-made eggnog bourbon whiskey mix, whatever, last year. That actually wasn't bad.
They pre-make that?
Yeah, it was. I can't remember. There was one. It was actually pretty good. It actually wasn't bad at all. I do think it'd be interesting to see the grass courts in person.
Mm-hmm.
You like a whole gallon of eggnog, Sonny? Just 1 gallon? And hope I'm with you. Peppermint mocha creamer during Christmas. It's obviously not Thanksgiving, but I picked up a bag of butter pecan coffee, which I do like during November as well. There was a bag, I think I got it from Target like 2 years ago. I just happened to be at Target, and it was like pecan pie, which I'm guessing is the same as butter pecan, but that was actually really good. And it actually, for like November, had a great like smell that you came downstairs to, or at that time I went upstairs. Totally different. Oh man. Yeah, it was tasty. Pecan pie. I was at Target. I don't ever go to Target. I'm not a Target person. The Target here in Lexington is a wild zoo of people.
Will he make it?
All right. We're back. Intro.
Perfect time.
This song is on a loop and then play it at like 10 and 20 and 30 minutes after the hour.
the tricky balance for Gamecock football fans between being optimistic and excited and not getting too overly optimistic with recruiting news, I think, continues. Yesterday, it was Ryan Brubaker, big offensive lineman from the state of Pennsylvania. First four-star guy added to the class of 2022, making it 11 guys now committed to Shane Beamer that we know of, and moving the Gamecocks up the national recruiting rankings, Bill, to number 21 in the country right now, a couple of spots behind Clemson. I think your advice that I've heard through 2 hours, or if you had to advise Gamecock fans right now, would be maybe pump the brakes and not to get too enthusiastic, or is it not that? I'm not quite sure.
You know, it's interesting with recruiting because, as you said, to get too optimistic, or because this is two different questions. Are you building optimism because of good recruiting for this football season? Like, where is your optimism placed? Are you like, okay, well, this makes me happy and excited, but I realize the guys we're committing won't be here until next year. So technically my optimism is about 2022, not 2021. Does it make you optimistic about the season, even though Karan Prunty is a guy who comes in and helps? That's now the new addition of the transfer portal, is that you can add a guy. He's one of these commitments over the last 10 days that you've talked about. So different scenario there where he does come in and help. But like when you talk about being optimistic or getting excited or whatever you want to label it as, is it making you excited for this football season that Ryan Brubaker, who will still be in Pennsylvania playing high school football, commits yesterday? Does it make you excited about the future? Does it change your perception of what could happen this year? Does that make sense what I'm asking you? Because it is a weird thing to build optimism about guys who you're still, 14 months away from being able to see play in a Gamecock jersey, or I guess less if you want to say that they're here for the spring game. But realistically, with the exception of maybe a few that come in, you're probably 2 or 3 years away from seeing them. Like, Patrick, I think you would agree with me on this. South Carolina has some offensive linemen. If Ryan Brubaker comes in and starts, either he's wildly exceeded recruiting expectations, or that's a bad sign that the offensive line is in desperate need of a true freshman to come in and start right away.
Yeah, it's rare, very, very rare, unless they're 330 pounds in high school. Like the kid Evan Neal for Alabama, that's going to be their left tackle, came in and started as a freshman because he's 6'7", 350 pounds. That is not what South Carolina's recruiting. They're recruiting a swimmer who has the frame to potentially be a, I guess, ideally sized, prototypical sized left tackle. But
well, let's not overstate it. If you're recruiting a big time 4-star offensive line recruit,
he's not going to be ready because he's a swimmer
who also swims.
But that's why he won't be ready to play as a freshman. He's 280 pounds.
Well, we don't know.
That ain't gonna fly.
Does he enroll early? There's a lot that goes into it. But your hope is that the guys on campus don't allow a true freshman to come in and beat them out. That their time, and by the time you circle back this year to July of 2022, that guys on campus have really bought into Luke Day's strength and conditioning program. They'll have had 18 months in there. That they are physically ready to, when Dylan Wanham moves on after this year, whatever happens to Justin Turrentine, if he elects to come back for an extra year, there's a lot of things that you just hope. And so I think it's interesting. It's kind of like Braden Davis, the quarterback recruit in this class. I think he's a 4-star on 24/7 Sports. He's a 3-star on Rivals. And you go, man, that's a good pickup. I'm really excited about that. 6'5", 200 pounds. And, well, you hope. You might not believe, but you hope that Luke Doty is the guy that is going to be a 4-year starter, and that Braden Davis maybe you hope he's a 3-year starter and he's so good he goes off to the NFL. I don't know how to explain that one properly, but the bottom line is you hope the guy on campus who is an elite level recruit, one of the top dual threat quarterbacks in the nation 2 years ago, is the starting quarterback for 3 or 4 years. So you can say, well, man, I'm really optimistic this recruiting class. Braden Davis, that's awesome. But you're hoping that you're not seeing him for 3 or 4 years because the guy you got on campus lives up to the recruiting hype, right?
I hear what you're saying from a depth standpoint, especially. I don't know if many fans are as patient as Chad claims to be. He says, my optimism rests in the 2023-2024 seasons. Let's see how these coaches can develop these recruits. I get that, but also part of these jobs of the coaching staff is to come in and develop the guys that are on the team. And especially in 2021 now, where you get one-time transfers and get out of jail free, that you're going to have the opportunity to get immediate impact players. And Shane Beamer's getting paid to win games in 2021 as well, and 2022. And I think that's the tricky balance, Bill, when it comes to recruiting, because you also have to have a foundation. And that's why I think it's interesting to look on Rivals.com right now in this class of 2022 national rankings and not necessarily put the South Carolina class up against Georgia or Florida or whoever else in the SEC you want to that has an established program, clearly, or Clemson right now, which is kind of strikes me as odd that Carolina is just 2 spots behind Clemson, and it shows me that each program is kind of on its own pace. But it's interesting, the most interesting for me to see Shane Beamer compared to other first-year head coaches that have just come in and are in charge of getting their programs as well back to the optimistic, getting their fan base optimistic and enthusiastic about the upcoming year. And I see that Texas is up at number 12 with Steve Sarkisian having 12 commits right now. And they're really the only other program besides the Gamecocks that I can see with a first-year head coach that is making some noise at this point. And again, recruiting rankings in June might be one of the most worthless stats in all of sports, because this time last year we were talking about Tennessee's big-time recruiting class and North Carolina's big-time recruiting class. And clearly things didn't go well at Tennessee and things changed drastically. But I think it's probably more important this year at South Carolina at this time because of Shane Beamer just starting a new era and trying to do it in the most unique way that I've seen, because he is the first year head coach that we've seen in 25 years, I guess, more than 25 years since Brad Scott came in at Carolina. But he did it even though as a highly respected offensive coordinator at one of the best programs in college football history in Florida State at that time, Bill. So I think that's why it's a little bit unique to Gamecock fans right now, what they're doing in recruiting compared to some other football programs.
It is, and again, it's a little bit right now of weighing what you expect this year. And let me say this: I think this is an interesting conversation. Maybe not for this hour, but for the month of July as we get closer. If you played a regular schedule last year, and I realize the results are what they are, 2-8 is what it is. But if you played a regular schedule last year, it's hard to say that. I mean, I'm not going to just say because it was the first game. I think Coastal Carolina built themselves up to where they got, being as good as they were. I think it was the ball got rolling, confidence got going. Maybe Coastal does beat South Carolina in the opener. And if they did beat South Carolina in the opener, then the question would be, would have Will Muschamp made it to week 2? Because, oh boy, that as bad as it was after LSU and Texas A&M, I got a feeling losing to Coastal in week 1 when you were already on the hot seat, he might not have made it to week 2. But let me just throw it out. If you think for a second that South Carolina wins the 3 non-conference games, Wofford, East Carolina, and Coastal, and then they find a way, they beat Vanderbilt, they find a way to scratch out like they have the last 2 years. They beat Georgia, they beat Auburn, they get to 5-7. Are expectations as bad this year?
What do you mean, as they are right now with
Yes.
the national over-under with 4 wins somewhere in there?
Probably even more concerning to South Carolina if they did that. If they went 5, more concerning to fans is Will Muschamp still here?
Right. That would be a massive question. What do you think, Patrick? I think it would be. And I think it would be a very difficult thing to inject any kind of enthusiasm with recruiting rankings or any kind of recruiting news under Will Muschamp, having seen him land a couple of 5-star guys in Zach Pickens and Jordan Burch and still not seeing the results on the field. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. Are expectations that low though here now?
There.
Like-
What's the over? What's the
Like
over under
Vegas,
wins?
but don't we
3.5?
always look at? But don't we always look at the Vegas over under and say, "Wow, how could it possibly be that low?" Like, hasn't that been the
last
case
several years.
every single year? It seems like.
Aside from a few people, at least on our program, I can't speak for other programs here, and I think us. I think the four of us are saying if they get to 7 wins, that's a really good season.
Oh, that's double the win total. More than double your
Well,
win.
but again,
Yeah.
right? But again, at all SEC schedule, I feel like there's 3.
No,
built-in
that's
wins on
more
the
than
schedule.
double your Vegas's expected.
Oh, the Vegas,
win total.
yeah, okay, all right.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
yeah,
right.
but that's what I'm just saying. I don't think 6-6 is this wild, unrealistic expectation. I think that's fair. I mean, I think when you have 3 wins that are built in, when you have Vanderbilt that you should win, it's at home too. I mean, that should be a win. I don't know if I'm saying something that's wildly unrealistic. Now, if I was over here saying, 8-9 wins, okay, then there's a lot of things you could call me and a lot of names. I got that, but I don't think saying 6 is wild. But I feel like because they were 2-8 last year, with basically one give me Vanderbilt. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. And again, how you weigh that kind of optimism for 2021 versus how you weigh optimism for a recruiting class that you won't see for another year and then may not see the actual players for 2 or 3 because of development and time needed. But right now, there are players out there in this recruiting class that the South Carolina has not landed yet that can come in and make an instant impact. Looking at you, Antonio Williams and Oscar Dell, those 2 guys in particular. And there's other ones. There are other ones that South Carolina could potentially land. But, the bottom line, I don't expect South Carolina to land a bunch of program-changing players this year. They got to land solid players that are going to need time to develop.
Is it different? I was trying to think back the last time we had a coaching change. I think the expectation is pretty similar. Coming off another 8-loss season, 4-8 in Spurrier's last year, half year, in the interim coach and Sean Elliott and the whole thing. I think the Vegas number was pretty close to what it is this year for Will Muschamp's first year and what it will be for Shane Beamer's first year. But a huge difference, Bill, is the opportunity for not just South Carolina, obviously, but where college football is and all of college sports now with a one-time transfer. Don't you think that the salaries have done it recently as well? Steve Spurrier certainly raised expectations, but the pressure on coaches to win now, I think, just gets magnified that much more because you have the opportunity of those one-time transfers.
Yeah, but again, it's who you're bringing in, like that I think magnifies that. I don't know. I don't look at the addition of Karan Prunty, EJ Jenkins, Jason Brown, David Spalding, necessarily those guys as guys who instantly add a victory to the win total. Does that make sense? Like, I don't, maybe let's hypothetically say for a second that JT Daniels had decided to transfer out of Georgia and South Carolina lands. Again, okay, well, now maybe we're talking a little bit different because you added a proven quarterback. But I don't know if you've added a guy. Patrick, sounds like you wanted to disagree with me, but I don't know if you've
No, I don't. I wanted to say, when you're talking about Prunty, I mentioned this yesterday, but the PFF college football preview came out yesterday, and it highlights. It's like 4 pages for each team. It highlights like a couple of situations. Like page 1 is the quarterback breakdown, and they talk about Luke Doty, and their top pass catcher is Nick Muse. And then they have 2 pages that say top defenders, and they mention 2 guys, and they mention Kingsley Enagbare and Karan Prunty. So like immediately, he's been on the team. He's been on campus for a day if he actually did enroll this week, and they've already got him as like the key difference maker on the defense. And they mentioned him multiple times, saying that he's going to be the best defensive back on the team.
803-404-6100, the number into the program for sure. Expectations, I guess, is what we're talking now that Ryan Brubaker has helped the Gamecocks improve their recruiting rankings for sure, up to number 21 in the country right now, according to Rivals, with 11 commits that we know of, and should know of a couple of more here in the coming days as well, with a couple of, I think still a couple of guys out there with welcome home tweets from Shane Beamer yet not being identified right now. York on the Facebook live stream says the pitch for the 2023 class is made much easier with 1 or 2 good wins this fall. How about that? Because we've seen 1 or 2 good wins in the last couple of years. The Georgia win still happened a couple of years ago. Auburn win last year happened. It'll be interesting to see. I think the sell to these recruits, what I'm seeing now and having heard more from the guys who have committed recently and other prospects out there, I think the sell is more about the program and setting themselves apart, the coaching staff, with the culture and the focus being a little bit more on just X's and O's and the whole thing, that the family atmosphere. We'll see how that combines with those results, because you can't continue to sell that without results. That's true, no doubt, York. But I think it's going to take more than just 1 or 2 good wins. Maybe not, because I remember, Bill, having a conversation with you, and you and I disagreed after that Tennessee win in year number 1 for Will Muschamp when they were ranked. And I said, don't stamp it. It's done. Year 1 is a success for Will Muschamp. That's all it took for me to put the successful stamp on that year number 1. I don't know if I see the program in the same place now with Shane Beamer, having seen the last several years with Will Muschamp. 803-446-100. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say the only difference I think is that Will Muschamp came in with such baggage that I don't know what it was going to take necessarily for everybody to jump back on board with him, or to feel like Shane Beamer. You can say like inexperienced, never been a coordinator. I get all that, and it's true, it's factual. But I also don't know if he comes in with the baggage, the legitimate baggage that Will Muschamp showed up with, having not succeeded at Florida. And so that's where if you do pick up some kind of marquee victory this year, maybe it's viewed entirely different than beating Tennessee. And that Tennessee team in year 1, 2 also was, we know now, was really, really coming apart. I think we also kind of started to see that at the game. I think, what was it, Jalen Hurd sat out, or some kind of weird situation with him. So, a lot there that's a little bit different.
803-404-6100. Again, the number in the program if you'd like to call or text. It's the early game here on 107.5.
That time of year to celebrate, maybe have a cookout at the house. Also might be that time of year to start thinking about refinancing your house. Interest rates still low. What you can do, maybe the money you can put in your pocket, a great opportunity. It needs to start, though, by getting in touch with the mortgage guru, Jacob Crowder, First Palmetto Bank. He and Brian Kovar working together to help save people money, but also maybe put a little bit of money back into their pocket, pay off credit cards, debit cards, whatever it may be. Give them a phone call today to start the process. 803-719-1005. That is the Mortgage Guru's cell phone. You can email him, the letter J, Crowder, CROWDER at firstpalmetto.com is the way to reach him. Of course, what I'm talking about when I say helping people out is a friend of theirs recently down in North Augusta. They were able to help refinance his home. He had some equity in there, was able to get some money back, and then actually use it to put in a basketball court for his son, something that Jacob and Brian are very proud to help their friend do. They want to treat you like their friend. They want to help you out. So give them a phone call today. See what they can do. You'll never know until you make the phone call and just investigate the situation. 803-719-1005. And again, that email, the letter J, Crowder, CROWDER at firstpalmetto.com. He's the mortgage guru, Jacob Crowder with First Palmetto Bank.
Saw you smile. Text.
Yeah.
It worked. I do like the next text, though. We're negative. We're a bunch of negative Nellies.
So we've got 2 texters within 6 minutes. One of them thinks we're always born at glasses, and the other one we're too Nick. Perfect.
Well, this one that says instead of being negative, you should be hyping the fan base, telling them to get on Twitter and tweet high schoolers. That's what we should be doing. Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Awesome.
I think Auburn is becoming the most interesting team in the SEC. You fired Gus Malzahn. It was fine. I don't know, if Malzahn was ever going to be what Alabama is, obviously. But you bring in a guy who's got three recruits, and I don't know how good Auburn really is. Tank Bigsby's really good. Bo Nix Patrick's not a fan. I can't say I'm a huge fan of Bo Nix.
Well, they let the good quarterback leave, and they're stuck with Bo Nix.
Well, they did get TJ Finley.
Well, Malik Willis is going to be a 50 draft pick at Liberty. Could you imagine? Are there any radio hosts in the Southeast that are like encouraging their listeners to tweet kids? Could you imagine if we were like, "Hey, this kid's Twitter handle is @so-and-so. Go tweet him and make sure he feels the love, Gamecock fans."
Yeah,
that'd be the most embarrassing thing in the world.
I'm sure there's some out there.
The whiteboard is getting dusty. Let me write down the handles of the Gamecocks' top 5 targets on Twitter so everyone can.
There you go. Excellent.
Yesterday. Quite the way with words, sir.
What was it yesterday? There was a big one.
Incontrovertible.
Yeah. Huge word. This thing has projected win totals for every team. They do their own little thing. South Carolina's half a win better than Vanderbilt, and more than a win and a half worse than every other team in the SEC.
That's Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt, I think, has another Power 5. I want to say Kansas State.
They play Stanford.
Oh, well, so
I don't know. I think it's East Tennessee State, Colorado State, Stanford, Georgia, UConn, Florida, Carolina, Mississippi State, Missouri, Kentucky, Ole Miss, Tennessee. That's a hard schedule.
So does it have them at 2? Does it have them at 3.5?
No, 4.4, and South Carolina's at 4.9.
Wow.
Well, I don't know what their Vegas number is. That's the PFF projection. But that's so much more difficult than South Carolina's. East Tennessee State, Colorado State, Stanford, and UConn.
Yeah. Right. Well, I don't know. I agree with you, but at the same time, you're taking out Clemson.
Well, yeah. Colorado State, I don't know. Maybe they suck. They're pretty good, right?
Would you agree that you would rather play? Well, would you rather play Auburn at home or on the road against Mississippi?
I'd rather play.
I'd
rather play Auburn at home. Yeah.
And then their other West game is Mississippi State, and South Carolina's is Texas A&M. So that's an easy one.
Yeah. But not for Vanderbilt.
Thanks, Dave. I think that's a compliment. We'll take it. Never know what the tone is. Look at Trey. Just a wealth of information there. Burnish, huh?
Oh yeah, and going back a few few messages to Hope and talking about Target and crumble cookies, right? Oh my gosh. Dangerous little new place.
Oh, by the way, are you guys aware that today is Heath's birthday?
Yeah,
Was
June
not.
30th.
Huh?
Yeah, June 30th.
Yeah.
Just the heads up.
Now that we can do. Tell everybody to tweet Heath and tell him happy birthday.
Yeah.
And then tag your favorite recruit.
Yeah.
And tell them to go to Colorado for Heath.
Yeah, that's right.
You never know what you're going to get on this show, especially from the Cool Care Heating and Air text line. Why are y'all so negative? Text me. This is the most momentum I've seen South Carolina have in recruiting in a long time. Hundreds of thousands of people are lining up on Twitter to say we want Oscar Delp and we want Antonio Williams. Instead of being negative, you should be hyping up the fan base, telling them to get on Twitter to try and help out some of these recruits. There are about 5 4-star players committing this weekend. This is not the time to pump the brakes. This is a time to go all in with the fan base. This coming from the same texter whose last text, and we get to see them on our little app here, was December 4th. Beamer is the obvious choice, but being a Carolina fan has led me to believe all we do is make mistakes. So my money is on Billy Napier. Keep that in mind. Now, we mentioned this on the live video stream. And David said, this is why I listen to the show. I wouldn't call it being negative. It's factual and realistic. A non-soapbox local radio show. You guys and gal crack me up. Trey says, I would say the 4 of you, between the 4 of you, it's a beautiful equilibrium of optimism.
Aww.
Trey's got away with words. Well, Bill, you seem frustrated with the
Entertained by everybody. Again, being able to go back and read all the text is actually the most entertaining, because you can always go back and see what people have said in the past.
And Patrick on the live stream, what did you call it? You say it'd be embarrassing if that's what we did to encourage home fans to go and tweet at high school recruits.
Yeah,
it never works out well. I mean, I guess it does work out well if you actually land a recruit, right? But how many idiots from Penn State have already sent Ryan Brubaker tweets telling him how how disparaging, name your disparaging adjective, right? What a mistake he made not going to Penn State and choosing South Carolina yesterday. I mean, that's the ugly side of social media. We will never encourage you to do that. Bill, you do have something that you can encourage people to do today. This special date of June 30th that you just pointed out to us is Heath Klein's birthday.
It is. Now you can tweet at him. I see Hope's already done it, wishing Heath Klein a happy birthday. So yeah, how about that? I gotta admit, I don't know the age. It probably is irrelevant, but yeah, call in this afternoon. Flood the phone lines and wish him happy birthday.
Yeah, no, he would like probably
Luke Bryan. It's not close. Luke Bryan.
Yeah.
And that's
Hey, don't forget that song. Well done, Chad.
Send him happy birthday, but try to integrate Imagine Dragons or Luke Bryan or Pitbull lyrics in your message somehow.
It's true.
Trey hits us up and he requested that special little clip of, can we hear that one more time, Heath Klein and his favorite song? Good pull on Imagine Dragons too, Patrick. I'd forgotten that was the artist there. But Trey says the only entity allowed to, quote, tweet at recruits is Cotton Gin sign. There are 5 points that did have the "We want Oscar Delp," and I think that is a nice, certainly touch for a lot of these recruits on their official pages, for sure. I mean, literally having their name in lights, I think still does mean something these days, and will be interesting to see how that goes. When is Delp supposed to make a decision? Bill, do you know? Is it going to be soon? I think I've read on Gamecock Central that a lot of these guys in the class of 2022 are getting their decisions out, want to have them out before their actual season starts, to kind of be able to approach their senior season of high school football with that recruiting stuff kind of in the rearview mirror.
Yeah, I think for each and every recruit, it's different. I do think just from my time doing it, or from calling recruits. I know it's a pain for them. I get it. Like if you're Oscar Delp, you've got South Carolina, you've got Clemson, you've got Georgia. Those are really the big three. Michigan and I think Florida, the other two. But you've got so many websites that want to talk to you and get the interview and get the scoop, and then you've got coaching staffs who are calling you. Some kids can handle it, and some kids, I guess, enjoy it more than others. But some of them, man, just I think a lot of us can think back to when we were seniors in high school, whether you were being recruited by a college or not, any college, how much you wanted to enjoy your senior season. That's kind of part of that conversation we had yesterday about Devin Hyatt and transferring to IMG and what it would be. I guess the argument for me would be, do you want to finish your high school career with the people that you've grown up with and enjoy your senior year and do all those fun prom things and everything that comes along with it, or go pursue your passion, what you believe is going to be your future? And so for a lot of kids, I think getting the recruiting process out of the way, securing where they want to go. Look, we know it. You can still change your mind. All those kids committed, and Ryan Brubaker can start playing high school football here in the next few months, and somewhere along the line can think, hey, I want to stay home. I want to be close to mom and dad. I don't want to go south. There's nothing that happened yesterday that binds him to the University of South Carolina just yet. But I do think that going ahead and maybe getting it out of the way, so maybe you cut down on some of the phone calls. What was it, Braxton Berrios? I think one time South Carolina was after him pretty hard. There's a couple other schools. He ended up going to Miami. He was nice enough to tell me, he said, hey, look, man, I'm not doing any more interviews. This will be the last one, and I'm changing my phone number, and I'm not giving out the new one because I'm tired of people calling me. And that was a very polite way of just saying I've had enough of the process. And I think he committed to Miami a few weeks later and ended up going on to have a decent career there. I think Patrick, is he with the Steelers? I feel like he might be with the Steelers now. But for some kids, it becomes, it's fun at first, but it becomes a lot because, for lack of a better word, you're being harassed by a bunch of people calling you on a consistent basis, trying to get the story, trying to get what your visit plans are for the weekend, for, what you're thinking about for recruiting. So I get kids wanting to go ahead and get it out of the way.
The Jets, I'm seeing where Braxton Berrios is now in the NFL after being drafted by the Patriots in the 6th round in 2018. I hear what you're saying. Do we have a date specifically for Delp? If he's something?
No. We just know that he'll be at Clemson on July 24th and South Carolina on July 31st.
Gotcha. Do you see a trend developing? Because I think Brubaker announced yesterday in his announcement that he just couldn't keep it in for the next week or so. I think he had originally set his date to announce for at least several more days. I think maybe on the 4th of July. Do you feel like this push is being made from the Gamecock coaching staff, or do you think this is just kind of maybe a natural reaction to having official visits and being in person and already making up that decision for this Gamecock recruiting class that guys have been committing maybe a little bit earlier than they originally planned?
Well, I don't know. To each his own on that one. Like, for all I know is he put something out, and then again, people are trying to, maybe even his friends. I don't know. They're trying to find out where he's going, and maybe that's a conversation he's just tired of having. For some kids, maybe they enjoy it. I've never been through that process. So I don't know which way I would lean on, whether I would enjoy having to talk about it, 24 hours a day or people constantly asking me what I'm going to do. Or, that's not something I've ever been able to do. And, but I think it's to each his own as to what a kid wants to do in the process. You got some kids that I say are quiet. Antonio Williams isn't out there doing a bunch of interviews. Of course, his stepfather's Murphy Holloway, who went through the recruiting process for basketball. He's got a great mentor there in somebody who can kind of guide him and say, here's how we should view schools. Here's things we're looking for. We don't need to rush the process. We can watch things play out. We don't have to, we can change phone numbers or do whatever, or he can say, look, your mom can handle the phone calls, I can handle it. That's a good mentor to have for Antonio Williams, who doesn't need to be in a rush. Now, on the other hand, maybe you got somebody who's just ready to get it over with, and you've taken your visits. You want to enjoy your senior season. You don't want to deal with all of it that comes with recruiting. It's a lot. I mean, we see it as fans. I saw it from the recruiting side where I had to go to camps and I had to contact kids and do all that. That was the job. It's a multi-million-dollar industry. Look at what Shannon Terry has been able to do with Rivals, what he sold Rivals for. what he was able to sell 24/7 Sports for. He started a third venture now that he's building, Own 3 Sports, I believe is what it's called. I mean, the fan interest in recruiting is a multi-million-dollar industry, and Shannon Terry has done an incredible job of being able to harness that and make, I think, well into $10 million off of selling these entities, and he's starting a third. And part of that is telling your employees, me at one time, hey man, you got to break the story, and to break the story, you got to be in constant contact with the high school coach, with another high school coach, with the player's mom, with the player's dad. It's a high pressure situation, and for these kids who are being recruited, it's need at first. I can tell you a lot of them by the end of it are exhausted and have had enough.
Do you think the last several months, this recruiting class, I guess specifically the class of 2022, has experienced their unique experience with not being able to go places, not being able to have official visits? How do you think that's impacted this specific class, Bill?
I think we'll find out more in December, because right now you've got kids who seem to be patient, and are seeing different things. I know the defensive tackle that's really between Clemson, Georgia, and North Carolina, Travis Shaw, who's out of the state. He visited Clemson. Everybody, I know Steve Whitfong with 24/7 Sports thought Clemson would be the leader. Then he visited Georgia, and it seemed like he was saying really good things about Georgia. And now a lot of people think that he's going to end up at North Carolina, and he's the number 3 defensive tackle in the country. So, look, South Carolina's got good facilities, but all these schools, the vast majority of them have really good facilities. So you go see South Carolina, then you go see Clemson, then you go see Georgia, then you go see Alabama, and so forth and so on. I think that for most kids, they're going to be blown away by each visit, and so maybe they rush and they make a decision, and then things slow down for them and they have time to actually think about it. And that's why I say in December, you may see a rash of decommitments or flips, because kids have had time to think about what decision they make.
I think the part of the pitch for Shane Beamer right now has to be, come help me and this new staff lay the foundation for what we want this program to be. And I think there is that is a unique pitch that Shane Beamer gets to put out there. Steve Sarkisian as well at Texas, Brian Harsin to a certain degree at Auburn, who only has 3 commitments right now, so maybe that's not part of his pitch, or I don't quite know what's going on over there at Auburn. But I think that's got to be some of the appeal, some of the reason that we've seen that we saw 9 commitments in 9 days, Bill, that you get to be those special guys to Shane Beamer, because you only get one first recruiting class, right? And I know last year was technically his first recruiting class, but he only had a couple of months to do that. This time, it's his first full crack at a recruiting class, and I would imagine that's going to be part of it. I've heard coaches through the years talk about how special some of those first commitments were to them in their head coaching career, everything they meant to the program. I think Frank Martin might be the last one that I remember that of some guys that he got to really help lay the foundation for the Gamecock football program back in the day.
For the ones who are getting recruited early, what are they doing now? What is the coaching staff doing to kind of stay in touch with them and really kind of try to ensure that they're not going to flip later? Like, what is that campaign like?
Most from past experience and just talking to coaches get a feel for how committed that prospect is. It's kind of easy if you can see a prospect still considering taking visits. I mean, you talk about Dabo and his policy of, hey, look, Dabo, what he does is genius, just in the standpoint of he's saying, look, take all the visits you want. We're here. He's not stopping anybody from committing. His philosophy is very simple. If you're going to commit, we know you're committed. The commitment that in marriage, commitment means something, apparently. What I've read in the book. Well, in recruiting, it's the same thing. And Dabo has basically said with Clemson, hey, look, we're not stopping you, but when you want to make your decision, you need to stick with it. Don't take any other visits. Well, that's their way of saying, hey, we know you're committed. You're not going to flip. And if you look at the last 4 or 5 years, I think they've lost 1 or 2 kids. It works. For other staffs, they'll go ahead and take the commitment and they'll allow kids to take visits, but you've got to stay in touch with that kid. You have to stay in there. You have to constantly, maybe you got to go stop by his high school every time. That can be a chore. It can be a pain.
That's what I was wondering. How are they nurturing them once they've signed
Yeah,
to keep
I mean,
them interested?
you know, and I think there's still a level of showing interest, but each kid is different. Every kid on the recruiting trail is entirely different, and you have to kind of, it's just like, I guess, a child. You know, every child, if you have 2 or 3 or 4, whatever, you know, it's different. How you raise them, how you parent them, how you talk to them is entirely different. And so for the recruiting industry, it's a lot. I think a lot of us look at the money that's paid to assistant coaches, and you're like, man, I should have gone into that. The time away from the family. I laugh. I mean, that tweet that Eric Kimry put out on Monday about coming, his wife having a to-do list, because we go into a dead period now for recruiting through July 23rd or 25th. I can't remember the exact date, but he gets just a few days now to maybe get a vacation, to not have to constantly be at the office, to be able to spend time with his family, and his wife has got a to-do list to get out there and get the house fixed, or the yard mowed or whatever. So it's a lot on assistant coaches, and I know some of them that thoroughly enjoyed it, and I know some of them that absolutely despise the recruiting process.
The great part of that Kimry tweet out there was that his wife signed the list with the hashtag welcome home. It means a little something different. And right now, Shane Beaver pops it out there. Teddy D on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line. Loving all this football recruiting talk. It brings cautious hope for the fall. And that's all Gamecock fans need, is a little hope. And then he adds, it's about time for the power outage and show until noon. That couldn't happen today. At least that would be all you guys. Our culture meeting that we had yesterday, that took it out of me. I couldn't go 6 hours. Couldn't do it. I'm getting a lot of agreement. It looks like out there.
I woke up early for the England game yesterday. I've been up since noon yesterday.
Impressive, Patrick. Let's see if he can finish strong here in this 3-hour show. We will have the dramatic conclusion coming up next. 803-404-6100 if you want to join. It's the early game here on 107.5. Yeah, 6 hours is a little too much, but when it comes to being able to tell you about things on the radio every single day, I am proud to be able to tell you about Zero Res carpet and air duct cleaning, because Zero Res has been out to my house. I can tell you firsthand, they give you great results. I've seen it. It's happened at my house. Also, the fact that Zero Res does it differently than any other carpet cleaning service out there, another reason I'm proud to tell you about Zero Res and encourage you to contact them. Give them a call at 803-262-4020. ZeroResColumbia.com is the website. You can book your appointment today. You can also find out all the details about their patented powered water cleaning process that's different than any other out there. It has no harsh chemicals involved. That's especially important to me and my family. Got the little kids at the house, the 1+-year-old right now, always on the floor, picking up things, putting them in the mouth. No harsh chemicals is something that is very important to my household, and also no leftover soapy residue. That's why my carpets have stayed cleaner longer. Yours can as well. Right now, 3 rooms of carpet clean for only $119 plus a free hallway when you mention me, Tim Hill, to Zero Res. 803-262-4020. Again, is the number, ZeroResColumbia.com, the website. That's Zero Res, spell it backwards or forwards. It's the right way to clean.
Quality Shepherd's Glass.
Up, sweeping. Time to sweep up the ants.
Yeah, we're getting the ants. Apparently, I've really been having a good time. Slightly better. What's our fans at on YouTube?
Subscribers, Bill. They can be subscribers and not fans.
Subscribers? 773.
Whoa.
Craig, the YouTube channel I started with was Pro Walk Tours, but the YouTube algorithm now just recommends me videos, so I don't even have to do anything. I just pop it on, and there's inevitably a walking tour on my front page.
Nice. Did you leave Japan yet? Or are you still in Japan?
No, I've seen multiple. I've done Japan like 3 days in a row now, different parts. I was on like what looked like the Times Square of Tokyo today.
All right. And you were able to get back for the show in time. I like that. That is a
Yep.
good walk.
Well, enough time to get to London and watch Wimbledon.
Good luck, Anthony. Apparently you have something important to actually do. Did Eisner just get hurt? He fell earlier. Like, he seems okay now. Did he fall? Did he just fall again?
I don't know. Djokovic is on now, so that's what I'm watching.
I'm on whatever. Oh, yeah, you're right. Djokovic and Anderson.
We'll allow it to happen today, Anthony. Thanks for hanging out with us, man.
I'm on ESPN here. Just whatever ESPN's got.
Think like looked like somewhere around 10 of 13 ESPN tennis experts picked Djokovic over the field.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that little graph they put up.
Oh, we're heading back in.
He's a freak.
Sure, Alan. Nothing to it.
Yeah.
Jen will be the first one on the tube.
No, I'll drive. You can be on.
Will two stinkers get us an epic Game 3 tonight? I sure hope so. The College World Series. Just saw on social media Chris Burke, who is an analyst there, former major leaguer, former Tennessee ball, retweeted Vandy's tweet, I guess, from after game number 1, that they're the only team with 20 College World Series wins at TD Ameritrade. The Gamecocks won the first one, obviously, back in 2011, and they're going through win number 21 at the relatively new ballpark. I guess not that new anymore, out in Omaha. I'm just hoping for a good game tonight. And I don't really have a big dog in the fight. I guess I would prefer to see Mississippi State win its first one. And again, that stat that I think, Patrick, you found it, right? The Power 5 national champions. There are only 3 Power 5 schools out there that don't have a team national championship, and Mississippi State being the only SEC one, and the other two, Kansas State, and who else?
And Virginia Tech. That graphic popped up during the broadcast last night.
Gotcha.
So.
We can't give you all the credit for it.
Nope, ESPN gets that. But that does make it legit, confirmed that's real. ESPN
And yet you guys are gonna still pull for Vandy tonight?
Anchor down. Whistle on.
If I had to listen to the Vanderbilt Whistler or just a constant cowbell, I have no idea what I would pick.
That's rough, right? At least
they're so bad. They're both so bad.
But the Cowboys, yeah, I agree. The cowbell just kind of turns into white noise after a while for me. But this reminds me, since you brought up soccer a little bit earlier too, those Vuvuzelas things back in the.
Those are bad. Yeah, that was.
They're all awful.
Yeah, a couple World Cups ago.
Hope says she's. It's a good idea. Hope says she's definitely pulling for Mississippi State tonight. I think most will be. And that will make it more interesting to see that massive Mississippi State crowd if they get what they want in a celebration. That would be awesome to see for sure. It's going to be difficult though, especially if Kumar Rocker goes, which I assume he will since he pitched Friday. But that would make it probably that much more special to beat one of the best big game pitchers that we've seen in college baseball. But I brought up that 20 wins to just to remind Gamecock fans out there what a special run it was. Again, 10-year anniversary now of back-to-back championships, and then getting to a third, 22 straight NCAA tournament wins for those teams, that era, the NCAA record. Even a really, really good team like Vandy, who might win its back-to-back championship, make it back-to-back championships, even though it's kind of spread out over 3 years with weird COVID situation, still get absolutely hammered last night, 13-2, and it just didn't happen for South Carolina during that stretch. Amazing. The more removed we get from it, Bill, the more impressed I am, I think, with the Gamecock run now 10 years ago with back-to-back championships.
And again, I know they didn't win it, but throw in, they got back to the championship series a third straight year.
Incredible run, for sure. I don't know if it's been an incredible show, but it has been fun. We made it through.
It's been fun.
Thanks for listening to us here on the Early Game. Dan Patrick Show coming up next on 107.5 again. All right. That'll do it for the live stream, guys. Thanks for helping us out this morning. DC, Hope, appreciate it.
Peace out.